Okay, hey everybody, we should be live. Yeah, welcome everybody to the show. Today, as usual, I'm Game Master Roger. I'm joined by just going around the circle here. We got Jason to my right, and then Stan Ducato there. Below him, Bad Mike decided to join us today. Some of you guys know him as Bad Mike. Some people know him as Satan. Some people know him as Mike Badolato. Probably not a lot of people. It's
No,
why Bad Mike is.
and you actually pronounced my name right, so you must be from the Northeast. I know right away.
And then next to him we got Mike Saxon from Thunderstruck Workshop. Yeah, so welcome guys. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me on. That's awesome, hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, no, we'd love to chat with you, trying to go through the list and stuff of people. There's, a ton of people that we want to talk to, and then then there's a small list of people that'll actually talk to us. So, but yeah, no, it's good to have you. So what first, I want to clear up something. I saw a notice on Facebook that somebody had said that the Complete Strategist was closing. And they have two locations. They got a location in King of Prussia, and they got a location in New York City. They're only closing the King of Prussia location.
Oh no!
Which kind of which sucks because that's the one that we passed by a couple times.
Dude, that store was amazing.
It's like April 25th or April 26th, I think, is something like that. It's going to be their last day. But there's posts. People aren't reading the thing they posted, and so people are getting like misinformation, and people are just saying, "Oh my God, they're closing," and people think that they're closing both locations. So, but yeah, so it's only the King of Prussia location, and I don't think I'll be able to get down there in the next month. So,
I may have to talk to the wife and make an effort to get down there, though. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I've never been there physically, but I have a lot of stories about that because I've been buying, selling, trading online since believe it or not, 1994. I was on the old AOL forums is where I started, and I was actually one of the very first people to buy, sell, and trade RPGs online. It was me, but there was like four other guys, and we kind of had a loose confederation. We talk amongst each other. But I had a customer who lived in New York City, and he would. I was buying stuff. He said, "Hey, would you be interested if I went to this place, the store? It's in New York City. It's right across the street from the Empire State Building, right? It's real close to the Empire State Building." And the Complete Strategist, I was like, "Yeah, I didn't know what he was talking about when he heard of it." He goes, "Well, I'm going to get the gloves on next week and go." I said, "What do you mean by the gloves?" He said, "Well, it gets really dirty there because I dig underneath the tables and behind shelves." And he's like looking for like hidden shit. Like, so this is 30 years ago. And he would we had a little deal working out where he would go there like once every 2 or 3 months and just clean it out of anything old stuff he found, because they had stuff in the back room. They'd find it, they'd bring it up, or he'd find something under a table. I mean, just crazy stuff like shrink wrap D&D models, all kinds of crazy stuff. And so we had a working relationship for a while. And I get this stuff a lot of times. It's dirty, it's got dust on it. I mean, he found it wherever it was in the store.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I always wanted to go because, like I said, it would just seem like a magical place because he would come with these amazing finds. Now, I'm sure he cleaned it out by 2000. There wasn't anything left, But at that point, I think the last things I bought from were probably like 96, 97. At that point, he said, "Yeah, I don't think they have any more old stuff there. I think I got all the old stuff there was, but I don't know. I think they still had old stuff in there. They probably still have some stuff in there today."
The one in PA, we've stopped in there, I think a couple times now. And they've had they've always got like old stuff. I think people trade in or sell them stuff, and so it's good stuff. So what Chubby says? What do we? No, we didn't start early. We're on time. You didn't set your clocks back a couple weeks ago.
Fix this clock.
You got to fix that clock.
He's busting balls right now. That's exactly what Greg's doing. He's going to bust some balls because that's just what he does. So Yes, I know Greg very well. By the way, great writer, and he's got some incredible products out there. His like Shadow Rim and Shadow Sun are two hacks he's done
They're
with
fantastic.
Dark. They are. I like Shadow Sun better than the original Dark Sun. I think it's amazing.
Wow.
He's done an amazing job with that. And I didn't like Dark Sun. So I read his Shadow Sun.
Really?
I said,
Wow.
well, I would play this. This is actually cool. I didn't like Dark Sun, but Shadow Sun was awesome.
Yeah. So, I'm running Shadow Dark in my home campaign now. And like we've talked about it. Like I think Shadow Rim is almost like better a better, for us, because I'm running like a wilderness, exploration West March type of thing, and Shadow Rim's got a lot of stuff in it.
Dude, I'm a huge Skyrim fan. I've been playing that for years. I'm still playing it because unfortunately those idiots have not had a new version now for what is it, 11 years. It's been 11 years since it came out,
boy.
and we're still waiting on the next Elder Scrolls game.
I'm sure you and Jason will have a lot to talk about because he's got something like 9,000 hours in those games.
Oh
so.
my God, yeah,
I
start a
have
new playthrough every few years. Yeah,
I have so little faith that the next Elder Scrolls will be what I hope it'll be.
It can't be as good as we are all hoping it because it's
but that's the thing.
With expectations.
Honestly, and I think most people feel the same way. It doesn't have to be as good as Skyrim.
Mhm.
It just has to be good.
Yeah.
And I after seeing Starfield and Fallout 76 and what they've done to Elder Scrolls Online, I don't know if they've got it in them anymore.
Yeah. Well, all the writers, they broke the band up, right? They don't have the same writers, the same composer, and the same.
The creative directors are all gone.
Yeah, it's just all different people, so you don't know what you're going to get with the new Elder Scrolls game, which is kind of sad because the first one was just absolutely. I mean, I've played them all since going all the way back to Arena, which was like what 1989 or so.
Yeah,
and I love the Elder Scrolls games. So
praise where it's due, Greg. Praise where it's due.
Yeah, we're about to talk about you just a little bit more here, Chubby, because I've got my input from this weekend's gaming.
Oh, nice. So yeah, so let's start there. So what gaming have we done this week? So this week, obviously, Sunday I run my weekly game. That was Shadow Dark. I'll let Jason talk some more about that. I thought it went well. We had a new player and went through some stuff, kind of did a soft reboot in the same world stuff. I thought it went pretty good. And Friday I ran some games for the kids again, doing the homeschooling thing. So I had about 11 kids this week and was running White Box, fantastic medieval adventure game. So we did that, and I think I'm gonna get Joe to run Mouse Ritter next week, and then I'm gonna do some Shadow Dark the following week. So we'll see. I got to get them off of that 2024 5.5, I guess is the official thing now. So, but yeah, other than that, yeah, Jason, why don't you tell us about our game Sunday?
Boy, it was a little frustrating, but no one died. It's always a plus. We started using Chubby's the Shadow Dark Companion. I think that's what it's called, or is it Player's Companion?
The Player's Companion, yeah.
Yeah. We started using that one. Love it. There are some typos that need to be addressed, Chubby. Looking at you. Hey, man, we got to be honest.
I hear you.
Great product, but it has some things that need to be addressed. But, man, I was so happy to see classes like the Archer, the Scout. The Ranger is not my kind of Ranger. That does mean it's a bad class. But I so much wanted to play somebody that could move around in the wilderness and things like that. And I was like, oh, Scout, perfect, exactly what I wanted. And it played exactly like I hope it would play. It was great. Awesome. I certainly will. And we just had a great time. Like I said, it was a little bit frustrating. We tried to go into a castle and it didn't really work out. We did a lot of dumb stuff, which is right on point for this group. And boy, did we almost pay for it. We did pay for it. We ended up running all the way back to town, 30 miles. At one point, some orcs had a wolf, and I was like, okay, they're going to track us with this wolf. We cannot stop. We must press on through the night. Roger says, Okay, no problem. Everybody's like, okay, yeah, good call. All right, everybody roll an endurance check. And I rolled my 9th 5 for the night. And so I was like, I can't go on. So the guy that's pushing everybody to go can't handle it. But fortunately, the orcs also failed their endurance save. So they just left us alone and we ran back to town. No loot, no experience.
Yeah.
It was just like,
Yeah.
that was 4 hours well spent. But then we got back to town and we did our carousing only because like we pulled up the remainder of our starting money and we went out carousing. So that was that. But I had a great time. And honestly, it's because we used Chubby's Companion. I mean, I really mean that. Shadow Dark is great, but it's got the 4 basic classes. And if you're happy with that, great. But I really want to play something besides the basic classes. I want to play my Ranger. And getting to play my Ranger last night Sunday night made me so happy. So thank you, Greg. Wonderful. And I will send in my corrections for you.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, that was definitely a good time. Stan, what do you got? You had an elaborate setup there.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
so we did our annual gaming weekend with my group, and
Nice.
we actually it was a light crew this year, a lot of scheduling issues, but I had some dedicated guys that stuck through it. Even one of them even stuck through it through a chimney fire at his house, and was still adamant that he was going to run dedication. His game. Yeah. So yeah, my buddy Matt, like he come home Sunday night to a chimney fire. But I'll start at the beginning. So Friday night we started. My buddy Matt's been running us through some 2nd edition Ravenloft, so we played that. That was good. My character actually didn't die, which was a bonus, and unlike the week before. Saturday we played the DCC Lankmar. I don't know what the name of it is. It's Lankmar. I haven't talked to my buddy Chris who ran it yet. It was cool. It was like a meat grinder basically. It was a tournament. It's that box set, that second box set's designed for tournament
the greatest
play.
The greatest thieves in Lankmar.
Like it's. I mean, they have the records like in the, I guess, written in it for like each stage of it where like there was like we had 2 TPKs during the session. So it was like the first one was like in the tournament. That's where the most happened. There was like 44 deaths at that stage. And then the next one. So that was what was neat about it though. Like I didn't really get too much of like the Lankmar feel to it. But what was cool about it was like each area had like this themed area. And if you were paying attention, you could pick up on like what it was from. Like they had the drinking game from Raiders of the Lost Ark. They had the final thing. I posted some pictures of my friend Chris made this really cool 3D terrain, but it was like Donkey Kong. Like you had to get to the top of this wall to get to the Rainbow Palace or whatever to get out, and you had to go up these things, and so that was pretty neat. And then there was another area we went through before that, and you literally had the Statler and Waldorf from the Muppet Show heckling you the whole time, like trying to get through it. We were like shooting crossbow bolts at them and shit because we were tired of their lip. And then Sunday I ran my Cast Crusades campaign, so that was the 81st session, and we started. That was a long day. Like we started around. The guys got here at the house at 9. We had breakfast and started around 10 or so, and got done around 11 o'clock that night. And
that's
that
awesome.
was really cool.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, that was great. That was fun. We, it was great having no time restraints. Like we stopped for lunch, shot the breeze, had lunch, did the same thing for dinner.
I haven't done that in years, and I feel that if I tried it, it'd be like 1:30 in the afternoon, and I'd be like, guys, I'm dying.
I get that as a player. I never get that as a game master. I'm so busy that it keeps me going. And then Monday we finished up. My buddy Matt, regardless of his chimney fire at his house, he was adamant that he was running his game. So he came here and he ran us through a session of Call of Cthulhu Dark Ages, which I've never played before. So I had some of the worst rolling of dice I've ever had in a Call of Cthulhu game, and the results were as expected. But it was great because I never got a chance to play that before, and I actually kind of like the setting too. Like that setting was really fun to play. It actually inspired me a little bit more to look because I got the Baptism of Fire stuff there from RPG
Yeah.
Pundit, and it's kind of the same time frame. So I was like, oh, I need to take a harder look at that. Like that's a really cool setting. But yeah, that was my
Yeah.
4 days,
Nice.
4 days of gaming.
I got to try and do a weekend like that. That's
It's awesome.
together.
It's awesome.
Cool.
Like it's well, I mean, more than most, like and Mike would certainly know, like, organizing the cons and stuff, but even organizing like 5 or 6 of your buddies is a giant pain in the
Yeah.
ass sometimes.
Mm.
But
I
it's worth
think
it. Every time
organizing-
is worth it though.
Well, organizing a convention's easier because I think because you set a date a year and a half out and you say, listen, there's the date.
True.
Nobody's got anything on their calendar,
Yeah.
Plan ahead. Well, yeah. But,
Uh,
we had a great time though. It was a
Nice.
smaller crew, but we really had a great time.
So Bad Mike, yeah, you got a question there, but from
A serious question now.
a serious question. Serious question.
Friday at 7 p.m. Yeah, most people will be there. Will be in a game. Actually, my game starts at 7 p.m. Friday. That's the problem with going to conventions. You gotta organize your time. You're gonna miss something at some point.
Yeah.
I think Friday night might be your last chance to really. A lot of people do stuff Saturday night because as long as they're through by midnight in the midnight auction, they're good. So a lot of people schedule stuff Saturday night from like between 7 and 11. A lot of people actually hit the bar right then and hang out. Or another good time is probably Wednesday night because not a lot of organized activities are going on Wednesday night. That's actually a pretty good time. But yeah, that's the problem with going to a con. And almost any time you set up, you're gonna miss something. You're not gonna be able to get everything. So
yeah, that's the thing. Hey, Andy, welcome to the party. Catching us live for like the second time. He's from Wales, I think, or the UK.
England.
And so
I think,
usually, but now they didn't do their daylight savings yet, so it's
they
an
don't
hour
do it yet.
earlier
That's
for
weird.
him. Yeah. So Bad Mike, what do you got? You do any gaming?
yeah, actually, this worked out great because we actually gamed this weekend, and we game once a month. So the group I'm with, it's kind of an interesting group. We're all so I'm older. I'm probably older than everybody here. I'm in my 60s, and I've been gaming since '78. And so my original group, I would say we still game together, but we're gaming together, but we haven't gamed together over the past 30 years. We kind of, we're ships passing the night. Well, everybody's getting to retirement age, and we all have, time to do stuff. So I have my original group, which is the group I used to meet with in 1978. One guy's a doctor now. My brother's in that group. Another guy there. He had to retire because of Parkinson's. So we have them, and then we have a few other guys, and we meet once a month. And I'm really depressed because I always thought the cool thing is when you get older, we're going to have all this time to game, man.
Yeah.
We won't have to worry about families and bills to pay and this and that. Nope, we have less time than ever to game. So we're lucky we get our one Saturday a month in. But we're on session. I just looked at the sessions. We're session 25 of Dwarven Deep, which is Greg Gillespie's
Nice.
Dwarven dungeon, and we did something different. So this dungeon, we finished the last campaign a couple years ago. I asked them, would you be willing to do something off the wall? How about an all Dwarven party? You're all dwarves, and you're gonna
cool.
you're gonna save the Dwarven homeland, and because that's what the theme of Dwarven Deep is it's been taken over by evil dwarves and other forces, and you have to go in there and liberate it. And they're like all on board. They're like, "Oh hell yeah, that's
Nice.
That's awesome." So they have an all dwarven party. There's 2 non-dwarves that are treated like second-class citizens, as well they should be within a dwarven party.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, there's a whole plot line where they were given special dispensation by the dwarven, the king and everybody that they're allowed to loot too. They're allowed to loot anything they want because it's all in advancing the dwarven cause. So that they commune with their gods. The god says, yeah, if you want to loot dwarven tombs and take their weapons and armor used to further the the saving of the homeland, you're given dispensation to do that. So they're like, awesome. So that way they don't have any moral or ethical problems with looting the tombs of their ancestors. Matter of fact, it's encouraged. So anyway, yeah, they're on session 25, and there's they've been tasked with opening all the closed gates into Gungathal, which is a gigantic. It's a lot like if you're original D player, it's a lot like the Underdark and D1, D2, and D3. There's a giant map, and there's all these squares there, and there's 6 or 7 entrances into the Underdark. And so they've actually liberated the South Gate and the East Gate, and they're working on a gate to the west called Galder's Gate, which has been lost for 250 years. Nobody knew where it was, and they discovered through research where it was, and they've just liberated that gate. They still have 3 or 4 gates to go, and also they have to rescue the anvil of the dwarven whatever. And they're about 7th to 9th level now, so. When they get to be about 12th level up there, it takes a while to move up when you get higher level, obviously. And unfortunately, playing once a month, it may be another 2 years before they're ready to finish this off. But they're having a blast. We've had so much fun with this group, playing the whole dwarven party thing, and they just really get into it. They're all cousins. They're all part of a house that there's 8 houses of dwarves, and their house Cobblestone, which on the hierarchy is the lowest house. So they're the servants. Okay. Cobblestones are servants for like the guys that do war. There's the Longbeards who do construction. They all have a place in society. So I said, well, here's all the houses. Which house do you want to be? They go, we want to be Cobblestone, the lowest of the low. We're going to bring, we're going to kick ass. And so sure enough, they were house Cobblestone. They're the servants, and they fix everything they're the low down the totem pole. And so they had to do with a lot of prejudice when they first started out. People would laugh at them like, oh gosh, House Cobblestone's going there to try to liberate the dwarven homeland. But they kicked ass. They managed to free 2 of the gates. Actually, last night they just finished the last gate, or the last of the 3rd gate. And they've had a bunch of side adventures. They actually plundered a wizard's tomb in the mountains, and they turned that into a headquarters, and they have this elaborate. I mean, they give me plans like, okay, here's what we want to do. We're going to build a moat. We're going to put ballistas on top. We're going to dig underneath. We want a brew center in there. We got to brew our own beer, man. And so they have this whole side thing set up. So whenever they're through with the being underground for 2 or 3 weeks or months, they go back to their the tower. They get supplies. They get they do all the things they need to do, and then they head back to the Underdark. And they have they hire human mages to be their mages, because the dwarves don't use magic. Darrow, which are evil, evil little creatures that cast spells. Those used to be dwarves. Yeah, there used to be dwarves that were mages, and so because of that, there's extreme cultural hatred of anything to do with magic. Sure. So they don't practice magic, but they can hire mages. So they've hired. So one of the main things is their hirelings are all these mages. And they hired these 2 women when they were 1st level, and they're 5th level now, and they're like their little sisters at this point. But they're 5th level mages now, so they can throw fireball and stuff like that. So that's their mages. But they have every other class. There's a dwarven paladin, there's a ranger, there's a thief, there's a few fighters, a few clerics. One of the characters, my brother has a fighter cleric who he was a cleric, and they kicked him out because he was too radical. His name's Stone Tooth because he removed his teeth and put stones in their place, and everybody thinks he's insane. And he's just like the most over the top, dwarven of all dwarves. And but yeah, so they're having a blast with it. This is like I said, session 25. So I think we started adventuring in January of 2 years ago. So we've adventured for 2 years and 3 months. We've only missed 2 sessions, like 2 or 3 sessions, or 2 or 3 months. We managed to get them in somehow. And the months we don't have a session, we managed to do 2 sessions in another month. But like I said, I just think I was lied to. I was told there'd be all this free time when I got older, and we'd be able to game all the time. And I'm really jealous of friends of mine. They're like, oh yeah, we game I game 3 times a week. I'm like, how? How on earth? I mean, when do you have the time? Because between grandkids and kids and travel and conventions, we're lucky to get that once a month in. But we're having a ball, and I highly recommend Greg Gillespie's Dungeons. We finished Highfell well, we finished up a Highfell campaign. We didn't finish everything, and that lasted about 2.5 years, and this has been about 2.5 years now. And so we still probably have another 2 years, 2 years at least to finish it up. But his campaign books are just packed with adventure. I mean, you could take any one of them: Barrow Maze, Arcadia, Highfell, or Dwaro Deep, and you could have a campaign that probably should last you a few years. Even if you're playing once a week, it's going to last a few years. And so I can't praise this stuff highly enough. It's really well written stuff.
That's cool stuff. What system are you using?
So that's interesting too. So I told them they could pick. I said, look, we played about everything, and so here's the systems I'm willing to. We can do 1E, we can do 2E, we can do BX, we can do Swords and Wizardry, and they talked about they chose 2E, and the reason is because they all had the books, and my group really liked to. When back in the day we played 2E, we I hate to say it, but we like 2E better than 1E. Because in our minds,
all right.
Yes,
you are officially outnumbered on this stream, Roger.
I know,
right.
I know, and we have problem with old school people, but to us, it's just house ruled 1E is all 2E is.
Yeah,
and because you have the specialty priests, which they love having the specialty priests, and they're just different. We don't bring in everything, but we bring in a lot of the 2E isms, like NPC or what do you call it? Not weapon proficiencies. They make use of those. They make use of the specialty priests. I mean, there's things like that. And so they said 2E, and that's one of the versions of the rules that we could have played anything really, because I mean these guys, like anything before 2000 we could have done, or Retro Club. Like I said, one of the choice I gave was Swords and Wizardry, which I like Swords and Wizardry quite a bit. But yeah, so we do a 2E campaign, and it's worked out great. It's been a blast, and we hardly. The great thing about using 1E or 2E is that you don't have to look at the rule books a lot if you played a lot. A lot of it's just still up here in your head. So we haven't had any problems with any rules lawyering. We've done decades before, so we've already lawyered the hell out of whatever there is to lawyer.
Yeah.
So if there's any discussion, there's no discussion on like, okay, what exactly does a charm person do? We argued about that in 1986. I mean, so all that. So that's the great thing about having a group of old veterans, because you've already done all that. You've discussed how everything works, and I give them there's a little sheet we have. We actually have a Facebook page, by the way. If anybody's interested, contact me and I can put you on the Facebook page where we list our sessions and what we do. But we also have our rules, how we change our rules up, our house rules, how different things, how let's say you get hit with a negative energy creature, how that works in our campaign. We've got all that figured out. So that's one of the great things about having old schoolers there is you don't have to fight about a lot of that stuff. You've been doing it for years, and you know exactly what you want and how you want to do things. So
it's funny that you because when I finish my CNC campaign, whenever that happens, running Dwaro Deep with an all dwarf party is like on the list of possible next campaigns, because it's
a blast,
awesome.
Man. I've always wanted to run an all fill in the blank party. Like I had ideas for an all elven campaign, an all halfling campaign. It just so happened this with Greg coming out with Dwaro Deep, this worked out perfectly for an all dwarven campaign, and it's been really fun because there are limitations, but there's also there's things that the creator, because very famously, Gary was, I hate to say it, he was anti-demi-human because he had level limits. And he's very famously be on record. It's like, look, I want D&D to be human centric. That's the main. You're the main characters. You're the ones, and everybody else is assisting you. And when you do a party, you say, okay, there's no level limits. You have all these advantages because you're a dwarf. You get certain advantages, but there's also disadvantages. Also, mainly because they're all short little Fs. They're all this tall. So, but no, there's a lot of disadvantages too. And so you work within that. And it's really interesting because it does make a game that you've been playing for 30 years new, because you're like, okay, well, how are we going to deal with this new reality that we don't have spellcasters? So we're going to have to hire spellcasters. We don't have any mages, and we have priests, but they're all dwarven priests. We have certain limitations on how we do things. It's been really cool, and I always like I said, I always wanted to do that. I also always wanted to do a campaign that was set within one locale. Like I want to do like an all swamp campaign. Like you're on an island. There's a swamp there. You don't go anywhere else. You're just dealing with swamp stuff the whole time. Well, this works out great too because this is just you're just dealing with this underground empire that you have to free.
One thing with all these dwarves, yeah.
Yeah, you're in the mountains and it's cool. You're not going to all these different locales. Like they're not in the jungle 1 week and then 3 weeks later they're on the ocean and then 3 weeks after that they're in a city. No, they're just in the mountain the entire time in the Underdark, and it's been really really interesting. It's made all the old stuff new again, I guess you could say. Because
that's awesome.
So I would highly recommend just giving that a shot. I think it's been a lot of fun. We're jaded players. Like I said, we've been playing since 1978. It took a lot to get and everybody was actually excited about this campaign. They still are. I mean, I let them set what day of the week or what weekend they want to run the game. And I've never had players that excited about. They're like, okay, Mike, we decided April, whatever. Is that okay with you? And then I don't reply back, and they keep replying. Is that okay? Is that okay? Is that okay? Is that okay? I'm like, all right,
that's great.
That's a great weekend. Okay, whatever. And I never usually players. Sometimes it's pulling teeth to get them all agree on a day, But these guys work it all out between them because they're so excited to play every week. And I don't pretend it's my expertise as being a DM because I'm not that great. I've been doing it a long time, but yeah, it's just because of the whole idea of doing the Dwarven campaign and just this is different than anything else they've ever done. That's what's bringing them back to the table every week.
That's awesome. Chubby's got a hot take here that I don't think this is a hot take at all. People massively underutilize the ability to hire low-level henchmen to do stuff for them, hire first-level mercenaries.
That's something they've had. I think that's.
I think that's awesome. Yeah,
it's worked out really good. They've actually they've had 3 deaths of the actual Dwarven party, which they've all got raised. The Dwarven clerics will not raise non-dwarves. You're not the same religion. Sorry, and so they've had 3 deaths. They actually had 1 death last session. A pit fiend bit a guy, and he failed to save it though versus poison and died. But they've had a lot of hirelings die. They have a wall of honor where they've had quite a few 2nd, 3rd, and 4th level hirelings bite it when they're fighting, really powerful creatures. And so, yeah, they've it works out great because, the more hirelings you have, the better chance that eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and I roll the dice. Oh, it was Fixo the hireling that gets the dragon breath. So, that's the guy that gets killed. Like they had a death a few sessions ago. They were fighting a beholder, and he was going to fire disintegrate ray. And okay, 1 through 10. Oh, it's a henchman. Oh, he disintegrated his head. And they're like, whew, thank goodness we had all these henchmen with us to use up all the eyes that are zapping everywhere. So that is absolutely an underutilized mechanism in early D&D is the hireling and the henchman. So
yeah, Edgelord said all forest Dolman wood. Yeah, I don't know. I've looked at the map. There's definitely a lot of woods in there because it's fairy tale based. So there's a lot of woods in the
it's all
forest.
It's all woods. Yeah,
it's
right.
It's a forest campaign. I mean,
I have Dolmenwood sitting on the shelf over here looking at me, and man, I hadn't even cracked the books yet. And that may be one of those aspirational books that I never get to. That I just look at and it looks pretty, but
yeah, I backed the edition set and it's still sitting in shrink.
Yeah.
Right there.
So
there it is.
So Mike, how about you? What have you been doing? You do some gaming this weekend or no?
Well, no. Okay, so I'm gonna keep this fairly short. This week there was no game because I had to drive my daughter back to college.
Yeah.
There you go. Stuff that takes up your time when you're trying to game when you're older. Exactly.
Well, yes. So I actually have the time to game more. I'm retired. I do my 3D print business from home. I do 2 conventions a year. I'm busy. I'm constantly printing. When we were driving back from dropping my daughter off at school, my wife called her aunt because it was her birthday, and they're talking, and she had asked how things were going, how the business was going, and she's like, "Oh, Mike's doing good. He he gets up, he prints, he paints, he goes to bed." And I'm like, yeah, you just summed up my freaking life. It's pretty boring these days. Yeah. I mean, today I spent all day painting today because March started off absolutely horrible. As of 3 days ago, my total sales for the month had been like $50. I'm like, what is happening here? And I managed to pick up north of $1,500 in orders in a few days. And now I'm scrambling because I am just, going like crazy. But I'm always putting up the good fight for Dark Sun.
There you go. Yeah, cool.
So, as it's funny because, you talk about, gaming. I've got, you guys have heard a little bit of my plight. I had a big group and we used to play second edition. And I had like basically two groups at the table. One group didn't get along with the other group and they kind of bickered a little bit. And it kind of came to a head that we finally decided to split off. Well, the old time guys I've been playing with since the 80s actually went off and started running 2E and a different, they decided to run their own game. And I stuck with the other guys, which were all newer to my group that wanted to try different games. So we started doing that. And I thought that was the path we were going to go. And you guys have seen all these different games that I've been buying.
Yeah.
And I can't get anybody else to want to run anything. And they seem to bicker about the rules no matter what game we play. There's always something they want to bicker about. And it just kind of came to a head a week ago with one of my players because now, I think I told the story last week. But it happened about the 7th Sea Kickstarter. Now, I don't know anything about 7th Sea other than it's like a swashbuckling pirate game. But they had always talked about wanting to try one. So I saw the Kickstarter, and all I did was send the link in text. And I'm like, hey, look at the preview stuff for it, because they had a preview PDF. I go, just look at the preview PDF and tell me what you think about that game, if you guys are interested. And one of the guys replied back to me, oh, a lot of the stuff in that preview sounds like the stuff you complain about with 5th edition, and I don't know why you're suggesting it. You're just going to start running it and complain you don't like it and then want to quit. And I was like, I go, dude, I didn't ask you all that. I just asked what you thought about it. and so he comes back and gives me this big bullshit response. I'm going to answer. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean – got to watch my language here. He says to me, he goes, I'm gonna give you a douchebag answer to a douchebag question. And I'm like,
man,
whatever, dude.
I don't think. What do you think of this system? Is a douchebag question,
right? I'm like, I give up. So I thought about it a lot this week when we were off, and I'm like, you know what? I made a mistake. I said, if you players can't get along, you guys work it out or leave. I don't care. So I've been talking with the other guys, and they want to come back and play 2nd edition. So this next week, I'm going to finish up the Citadel, and then Pete's going to take over DMing for a couple months. We're going to start a new campaign in Shadow Dark. He's going to run it. I'm going to play,
nice.
And I'm going to start prepping my 2nd edition game again. I mean, I've run 2nd edition almost exclusively since '89. I don't see any reason, I'm just going to stick. I told him, I go, I'm done. I'm done trying to please everybody. I'm going to run what I like. And if you want to play in it, play. If you don't, I'll find some other players. I seem to have better luck finding I seem to have better luck finding 2E players than I did finding OSE or Shadow Dark or, a lot of people don't want to try new systems. They want to play what's familiar.
Yeah.
It's
true.
And me, I'm kind of getting a little out of my comfort zone. I love Forgotten Realms. I do. I mean, I know a lot of people have. I love Forgotten Realms. I've never, ever run anything in the Dale Lands before. So I've got Dale Lands here. I got Shadow Dale. I got Doom of Dagger Dale. I've got the Randall Morn trilogy of adventures. I'm just kind of reading them all I'm not running the adventures, but I'm just reading them to get ideas for the whole area and plot out what I want to do. But I don't run canon anything. If you get in my Forgotten Realms game, it's a mix between the 1E and the 2E box sets. I've got lots of different box sets here and supplements. I pick and choose what I like. None of my players have read the books, so they don't know any better. And I tell them flat out, I go, if you go and read one of these books and something's different, then that's your problem, because it's not in my game. I'm gonna basically have my own story here.
Forgotten Realms in 1st and 2nd edition, man. There's such good stuff, man.
There's a ton of good stuff.
So good.
Yeah, I love the early realms.
Yeah.
Later realms, no, but
The,
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 early
the, gray,
stuff
the
was
gray
awesome.
box, I consider the gray box one of the best ever. What would you call it? Not hex crawl, but just the gray box. Just take the gray
Yeah.
box, open it up. You've got a pantheon. You've got a whole world described not in super detail, but enough to where okay, here's the Egyptian realm. Here's the realm like a kingdom. Here's the evil guys over here. It's a great sandbox, man. The
Yep.
early stuff,
Yeah.
we played it when it first came out, and actually, I was kind of sad to see the way they just milked every single part of the Forgotten Realms to the point where we're going to do a supplement on every single nation. The supplement's going to be that thick. A little mystery is good, man. It's good just to say, look, here's all this stuff. There was sample adventures in that box set. There was just some different rules changes. They had some really cool NPCs. I mean, that gray box is way underrated, man. The first Forgotten Realms box got in 1987 is extremely
I have
underrated.
one.
Yeah.
So as for
definitely good stuff.
new stuff, I don't have anything new to show this week. I did get on eBay and I bought the complete Druid's Handbook, the one I was missing because
Oh, nice.
the way I was supposed to get one kind of never seemed to materialize, so I decided I'll just go buy it. So I picked that up. The only I shouldn't say that. I'm still missing the Ninja one. I don't really have a desire to run out and buy
Nah.
it.
The ninja really doesn't fit
for
like
completion,
the D&D aesthetic, you know.
Yeah, for
completionist.
For completion's sake, if I find one dirt cheap, I'll grab it. It'll probably wait till like the flea market next year at Page or something, and somebody's got it in a box for $20. I'll pick it up. I'm not going to buy it for $50 on eBay because I won't use it. I did get the Barbarian.
Chubby, that about sums it
Spot
up.
on. Yep, that's accurate.
Yep.
Sorry.
You want to hear a dirty? You want to hear a dirty little secret about 2E? So we cornered Steve Winter once, who with along with Zeb Cook, they wrote the rules. I think John Pickett's helped too. 2E, and hate to say it, but most of those character books, complete book of Druids, complete book of whatever, they were not play tested. They were written because they had a contract. Like, look, we want to do a book about Rangers. Who wants to do the Ranger book? You. And they would have to think of like 15 Ranger classes, and this is, and
but that Ranger book's pretty good.
Well, I mean, some of the books, very famously, the Spell Dancer or whatever. There's a few classes that are
Blade
so
Singer.
off the beam.
The Blade Singer from the Elven book.
Yeah, the Blade Singer. They were never play tested, and so you gotta kind of go over it yourself and say, okay, I'm going to allow these two, but these three, no, they're not making the campaign.
I learned my lesson after our last 2E campaign because we played on the Sea of Fallen Stars. We were playing a seafaring campaign. But I told him there's going to be plenty of dungeon delving too. And doesn't one of my players decide he's going to make a Sylvan Elf out of the Elves book because the Sylvan Elves get a +1 to strength. And I'm going to play a warrior and I'm going to take the soldier kit, which gives me an extra non-weapon proficiency or weapon specialization, I should say. And he just min-maxed it. And then I'm looking at the Sylvan Elf and I'm reading it. And I'm like, I go, John, this was like the second week of it. And I'm finally looking at it. I go, John, Sylvan Elves, they barely leave their woods. They hate everybody else. They will not go on ships. They're definitely afraid of going on ships in the water. They don't go underground at all. I'm like, how does this guy? And he's like laughing about it. Oh, well, we'll make exceptions. I'm like,
yeah.
So I told him, I go, never again. I go, from this point forward, I will go through the books. I will decide what I want to allow in my campaign. We're going to make up our house rules, a little document, and say, hey, if you want to use these kits, they're available, but you're not going to use this, this, or this. Actually, I won't even say what you can't use. I would just list the ones you can. But I found some of them, like, I don't know if you've ever looked at the Complete Bard's Handbook, but that book I actually like because the Bard itself, as a class in 2E, gets 4 abilities. The Bard kits in there aren't actually kits. Each one is a separate Bard class, and each one replaces all 4 of those abilities with 4 other abilities. So take away those abilities you get it adds like 10 Bard classes to it. Now, I'm not saying they're all good, but one of my players played one of them. We had a great time with them. There was nothing broken about it because they weren't giving them extras. They took away a bunch of stuff and then gave them new abilities in its place. I just picked up the Barbarian one at Page, and I just read through it the other day. and right at the beginning, before you even get to kits, there's a barbarian class, a barbarian fighter, and a barbarian shaman. And I think they're both feasible classes. There's nothing really broken about them. So I think there's some good in those books, but you have to go through them and weed it out.
Yeah.
You cannot just hand them all to the players and be like, hey, use what you want. I mean, you could, but you're going to end up with some really Monty Hall campaign. So
Players have the ability to search out the most
Yeah.
overpowered min-max class. It's like a power, and they're like, boop, it's that one right there. And then the next session, everybody wants to play that, and you start figuring it out, like, oh, something's up. Okay, what's going on? Yeah, okay, no, that's a no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I mean, I've like I said, I've been running second edition since it came out. I started in '86, and about '88 or so, my friends got me into first edition. We played it for a couple of years. We didn't have a game store around us. We had a Walden Books. So when second edition came out, that was what we had access to.
Mm-hmm.
So we all embraced it, bought it all, and forever we used a mix of the two. And I'd say we still do, but these days it's more just core 2E than anything. I mean, we had played plenty of games, campaigns where it's like, you got the player's handbook. That's it. That's all we're using, and that's all you need. But yeah, it is by far my favorite system.
Gods of the Forbidden North, I heard is really awesome. They were in the auction last year at CNY, and I was bidding on them, but I got outbid by Eric Tenkar. Have you heard of him, Bad Mike?
Disreputable villain is what he is. Yes.
Have you seen the slipcase for it, Roger?
The third one just released.
No.
So
Yeah. Oh
I
my.
haven't.
It's like
I'm gonna have to. It's got to be wider
it's
than it is tall.
massive.
Yeah.
I saw it on somebody
God.
had it on Facebook. They showed a video of it, and
Oh man.
literally would probably stop a bullet or two. That thing is massive.
I
Pretty
did
impressive.
I did not back it. I waited. They keep putting the PDFs on sale every once in a while.
Yeah.
And they'll put them pretty cheap. So I've got the first and second volumes on PDF. Third just released finally, and now the slipcase are out. Maybe I don't know. I might buy it, but
That's my plan, is to buy the PDFs like when they do all, if they do like all of them on sale or something, or the pack, all three of them together.
Yeah.
I think I can get them cheap. So we'll see. So
But before we leave
Yeah, go ahead.
the Forgotten Realms again, real quick. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you're good.
Are you guys familiar with this?
the whole Rums catalog.
This is my all-time favorite accessory for
okay.
any edition of Dungeons and Dragons. For those of you that don't know, it is the Sears catalog from the 1900s for the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
After I got my divorce and I had to get rid of all my D&D stuff to pay the bills, when I finally started collecting again, when I started building my stuff back up, this is the first thing that I picked up. And when I found it, I was almost in tears. I was so excited to have this thing in my hands again. It is full of useless crap, just like a Sears catalog, but it also has like specialty class items, like a razor ring for thieves to give you a +1 to pick, or actually I think it's a +5%, so +1 to your pickpocket ability. It has like a tree bed for rangers and stuff. Nothing that breaks the game or unbalances anything. It is, everything in here is so well thought out that if you can ever find it, you want this.
One thing I feel about books like that, I love that book, but I treat it the same as I do the complete handbooks. That should be in the DM's hand for little things to introduce throughout the campaign.
Yeah.
Don't give it to the players and let them read it, because next thing you know, you're never gonna. I've got players that will not leave me alone. Hey, where I want to find this. How can I get there?
Well, I mean, like the book as published it's like going into a Sears, like Aurora is in Waterdeep or something like that, and she has a storefront, and you go and you peruse the catalog, and you order this out of the catalog, and it magically gets summoned behind her, and she like hands it to you, or it's in a warehouse or some such. So yeah, depending on how you want to use it.
Yeah.
Can you hold that? Can you hold that up again?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna flip your mirror here and make you big so that everybody can see the. There you go. Yeah. Forgotten Realms, Aurora's whole Realms catalog.
So there's another one very similar to that. Yeah. That's the Mystara one.
I love this thing. Okay, that's my big second edition thing. I'm cool now. As soon as we started talking about it, I was like, I need to show him this. It's like I haven't been able to get out of my head.
That's awesome. I never even heard of it.
I have the PDF. I'll send it to you. But like I said, the important thing about it is that everything is balanced. There is nothing in here that is going to break your game. It's just little enhancements to make it more fun. I just love the thing.
Yeah, that's important balance, I think, and stuff, and for
I
some of
don't
the
think
class
there's
stuff.
a whole. I don't think there's. I know they kind of went crazy with splat books in 2E at the end, especially, but I really don't think there's too much in there that any individual thing could break your game.
Agreed.
I mean, there might be some things that are a little overpowered and you might want to watch, but there's nothing really game breaking. Where you take new editions of stuff and man, you could really break your game with some of the.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, so what's so I think that's it, right? Gaming is anybody get anything else in the past week or so? I think they bring anything in they want to show off. I don't think I didn't get anything in the past week.
I haven't got anything this week.
Which is crazy.
Strain, but that was it.
Yeah.
I got a couple of books I ordered. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
We're all living like the poors this week.
Well, yeah.
Do the show.
Man, I put in a sizable order for some stuff, and I had to contact Stephanie, my wife. I was like, hey, because this happens every Sunday. I get to Roger's house, and he and Ken and I start talking about this or that system and whatever. And we keep going back to Kevin Crawford stuff. And every time we don't just focus on like, oh yeah, Ashes Without Numbers is great. They're like, so we've done Ashes Without Numbers. Why don't we do Worlds Without Numbers? Why don't we do Stars Without Numbers? And I'm like, I'll get this book too, I guess. So that's it.
Yeah.
I ordered a bunch of stuff from Pundit and RPG Pundit and a bunch of stuff from Kevin Crawford. And I was like, babe, do you mind? And she's like, no, go ahead. So
Ducato, are you still looking for a player's handbook?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been going through eBay quite a bit looking at stuff lately. So if I see a good deal, I'll either pass it on to you, or if it's like something that's going to end, I'll grab it. And
thank you.
One way or another, I've been watching.
Yeah, cool. So so today we're going to talk about a couple things. I think we'll see.
An hour in,
get to them, right?
Here we go.
No, this is good. This is fine.
This is a lot like our D&D sessions. It takes us an hour just to BS, and then we're like, okay, I got to roll dice here. Let's get going. Yeah.
We running Shadow Dark has like changed all that. Like in the beginning, it's a little slow sometimes, but as soon as the game starts and they light a torch and there's a sand timer on the table running, the group is like they hush each other because that torch timer's running and they just don't want to, hang around and chit chat. They're like, no, we just do the thing. Go. We got to go,
I like that a lot.
Yeah. It's kind of solved that. And like the first couple times we played, I was like completely like unprepared of like how far they got, through the dungeon. Cause I'm like, oh yeah, they're going to get through a few rooms and that's it. But man, when you hit the dungeon and there's a timer going, at least for my group, and it's initiatives just keeps going, it's just boom boom boom, they just they're hammering away at it. It's amazing.
Me too when I ran it. Like
but
the first session they got way further than I thought they would.
But so today, like with because Bad Mike's here, I'd like to talk to him about some conventions, because I mean I'm no expert. I've only run one and got the other one coming up. So I want to talk to him about that, and then obviously, collecting and stuff. But as far as conventions and stuff go, now, Bad Mike, you've been running. This is 18.
Yeah, this is year 18 for North
Texas.
Yeah, you're 18.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's so you had a cap for a while. It was what, 500, and this year you upped it to 6.
Yeah, so Doug and I, we first started the convention, we never wanted to we didn't want to become a job, and we didn't want to work. And we noticed that once conventions get to be about 1,000 people, it becomes a job. You got to hire people. You have to hire staff. You've got to, you can't just be all volunteer. You can't do it all yourself. There's all these things that you have to do then. And so we arbitrarily set a cap way back in the day about, we had like 100 people show up, 200 people. We're like, our cap's going to be 500 people, and that's it. And also it makes it easier to find a venue. because once you start
Sure.
moving to 1,000 people, 2,000, you get like Page, where you got to find a giant convention center now or Game Hole Con. And we
Yeah.
wanted to stay in hotels. We've always wanted to be in a hotel. We didn't want to have a convention center. And so, yeah, we had 500 for years. We raised it last year to 600, which is probably the one and only time we're ever going to raise it. And the reason Gary and I decided that was because that's about how many people we already had coming, but it allows more people to pre-register for games. So because if you're not pre-registered, you can't register for games on the site.
Yeah, but they could show up and just buy a pass.
But you can show up. Yeah, as a matter of fact,
and,
you can still. We're sold out now, but you can still show up. You could show up and walk in, and there'll be plenty of games. There's always plenty of games.
Sure.
About over the years, we found out probably 10% of people don't show up. So that's about 50 or 60 people right there that aren't going to show up. And you have people that schedule games that are there's always open spots in their games. But yeah, that was our plan from the beginning. 500, then we raised to 600. But I doubt it's going to be raised any more than that, just because our venue. That's pretty much maxing out our venue at the West End is about 600 people.
Yeah. And so I mean, running CNY the first year and even going to conventions, right? Like that's like everything that I did with CNY to, is like, obviously I talked to you, I talked to Griff about some stuff. I talked to a bunch of convention runners and all that just to get ideas. And then a lot of it, like Jason and I would drive to Pennsylvania or whatever, or Gary Con, walking around, and we would just discuss constantly, what did we like? What's good? What's bad? And then, so finally when it was like, hey, like we should do this thing here, it was like, we already had a list going from just conversations of like, what's good, what's, what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. And a lot of it, Mike, is thanks to you. I mean, I kind of modeled CNY a little bit after, North Texas. That was kind of my goal of like to do, I don't want to say simple, but you see a lot of conventions that have, you mentioned earlier, you get conventions that have, 10 tiers of badges, right? And you guys are just like, yeah, just here's the badge. Like that's it. Like, and I don't want to have that because that's like confusing. And then you got people fighting, and then there's feel bad moments and all of that. So, I definitely wanted to avoid that. So, and I've always talked about a cap of like 400. In my current venue, I don't know if I can have 400. We'll see. I think we're going to hit 300 this year.
I think 400 would be doable, but it may be pretty tight. I don't know. It's not a big venue.
Yeah.
It's not a big venue, but the only problem is, you could look at getting into a bigger venue if you want, but man, that place was just nice to be at. It was a good hotel to be at.
The service
was phenomenal. The only thing that could have been better, and I think you need to relay this again to them, is they got to get those bathrooms cleaned.
Yes.
That was the only downside was, I think they were dirty before the convention started, and there's nobody touching it during the weekend.
Yeah, that was crazy. Hey, Jen, thanks for watching. So yeah, it's that's really it. And I know, Mike, we had a conversation early on, and I had mentioned that the hotel was going to do food, and they were going to bring food out to the tables. And I remember, were really adamant about get it in writing, make sure they're going to have staff. And did you have issues with food?
Yeah, so hotels will promise you a lot because they want to get you in there, and they'll say whatever it takes to get you to sign the contract, get you in there. But the reality is, and we've discovered this over the last 18 years, and actually, full disclosure, I worked for Hilton Hotels for a year way back in the 80s, so I got to see the sausage made from the inside. The reality is that most hotels, especially smaller ones, are not set up for quote unquote convention type activities in terms of the strain it puts on the resources. And I'll give you the example is that they're not set up to have 500-600 people in there ordering food. They're just not. I mean, that's not their usual. Their usual thing is they have a couple hundred people there that have different schedules, and they are able to handle that. But when they have 500-600 people hit one weekend, they just absolutely cannot deal with it. They just don't have the resources, and that's been true of every single hotel we've had over the years. The Marriott, the Westin, the all the ones. They are not able to deal with the huge influx of people. And so you have people at the restaurant, the hotel, they may tell you they can handle a lot of people, but they've only got like maybe 10 tables there. You guys are going to sit down. You're probably going to wait an hour for your food. I mean, they're not hiring more staff just for you. They have the exact same staff they have every day of the week, and plus now you got 500 people showing up. And it just never works out the way they say it's going to work out.
At CNY, it was fantastic, Mike.
I will say they went out of their way. They opened up the kitchen early. I mean, hours earlier than normal. They brought in extra staff. They opened up early, and they literally walked through the game hall, walked around to all the vendors, to all the gamers with a menu, and took orders, and they delivered right to the tables. Now
how many people though? How many people we're talking?
We had 202 was the final number.
That's doable. It becomes an issue when you get about 300, 400, 500. That's when it becomes an issue because you're way beyond their capabilities. But yeah, you can do that with a couple hundred people. That's one of the reasons we hired the serving girls. We have our own serving girl platoon, and there's 3. I think we're up to 4 of them, and they take orders and they run and they get food and drinks for everybody that's gaming. That's why it doesn't take you out of the game. That's also why we do food trucks too. Food trucks turned out to be an amazing thing because they can just go out and you have the food trucks in the parking lot.
Do you have a list of the food trucks? Chubby wants to know.
Of course he does. We have some people from last year. We got some people that show up every year. We got the breakfast truck. We've got a taco truck. We got a barbecue truck. Pretty much. I think Gary even has a lobster roll truck. So we have a wide variety, and we try to get at least 3 a day, and that way because all our special guests eat free at the food truck, which is kind of a cool perk for being a special guest.
Oh, nice.
But it's just that way the restaurant is not swamped because over the years the probably the main complaint we've had at North Texas has been the restaurant not serving people or serving the wrong food or serving cold food or just not getting stuff out in time because it's just absolutely swamped with the amount of people that we have coming in. And the thing is with games, you're not necessarily staggered in times. You have a morning session that's over about noon. You have a noon session that's over about 5, and then your other session's over about 8 or 9. And so these times they get hit. They get hit at these X amount of times. You don't have games ending every hour, and because of that, they're okay in the off hours. If you go in there and you want something to eat at 10 a.m. or 3 p.m., you're fine. It's when you're coming in the main hours when all the games let out that it just becomes a mess. And a lot of people who go to conventions don't have their own cars. They don't want to hire an Uber to go anywhere. And so they're just stuck there and they end up going to the restaurant and it becomes a disaster. We've had a lot of complaints for that over the years. And like I said, not just the West End. It's been every single hotel we've ever had. We've had complaints about, man, we just can't get our food. It's taking an hour. It's 1 year we were 1 year only. We were at a Holiday Inn, and that was an absolute effing disaster because they just were not ready for an amount of people. And I think that year we only had like 200, 250, but they were not ready for that amount of people. And people were literally waiting an hour to get coffee, just to get coffee. They were waiting an hour. I mean, it was that bad.
I think they doubled down on people, at times. I mean, I went over the schedule with them and everything, and and I mean, they were really, it works good. They're really good.
You have to be on. They have to be on board too. But one of the other things we found is that a lot of there's usually a day manager and night manager, which is something we found out that we didn't know when we first started doing this, and they don't always communicate. So, for instance, the first place we stayed at was a Marriott. And we told people look, the bar needs to stay open late because these are gamers. They like to drink. They will spend a lot of money in the bar. And so we got assurances from the day manager that the bar would be open till 1:00. No problem. This is the Marriott place before. And when we get there, no, we're closing at 11. No, I'm the night manager. You didn't talk to me. You talked to the day manager. And they said this, and we're going to. And of course, Doug got mad and had to call and make calls instead. So then after that, they were open till 1. But usually, when they see how much booze they're selling to drunken degenerate
right.
gamers.
Yeah.
They're all excited, but a lot of times they don't, they don't make allowances for that because they don't communicate with each other. And so you have to be really careful when you go into your pre-con meetings with these hotels that everybody's on board and they all know that this happens and this happens. And like we were talking about earlier, Roger, they will tell you a lot of things. Oh, no. Our serving people will be absolutely, they're going to have no problem dealing with you. And one person doesn't show up to work that day. Or, a cook calls in sick or something. And in that case, it's all out the door. That they have no assurances about anything. And they've already got you there. You're there. What are you going to do? There's nothing you can do now. You're there. And they're like, oh, sorry, we're food's just going to get out really, really late. And you're going to end up waiting an hour and a half for your food. Communications is very important.
How many rooms do you guys end up selling at North Texas?
Oh dear, Gary would be the person to ask for this. I don't know, but we sell out the hotel at this point.
My thought of that is when you go into those meetings, they should be well aware and just like, listen, man, we're booking out this whole hotel here.
Let's say that let's say that you work for the hotel, Mike, and you know that if the hotel's full, you are not going to be able to deal with everybody there. You're not going to tell the client that. You're not going to say, well, you can all show up, but I'm going to tell you right now, you might have to wait an hour for your food. That's just the way it is. You're not going to tell the people that. You're going to say, oh, no, we can deal with it. We're fine. We have it handled, whatever. And you're going to say whatever it takes to get you to sign the contract. And then when time comes, you're just going to deal with the consequences as they happen. Like, oh, sorry, we weren't able to get enough people in. We had one hotel tell us, oh, don't worry, we will hire extra people. You don't need your serving girls. We will hire extra waitresses that week. But we didn't believe them. And then sure enough, they didn't. They didn't hire one single extra waitress. It was exact same waitresses. And luckily our serving girls, they were there and they were the ones that went and got the orders because they specifically told us we will hire more waitresses, and they did. They didn't hire one single extra waitress.
That's a ridiculous promise to make. You couldn't possibly. You're going to hire somebody, train them up, and then fire them for a week's work.
But people hear what they want to believe. If you're running a convention and you're worried about, I don't know if everybody's going to get food. If they tell you that, you're going to, okay, I'm good with it. Okay, cool. You guys are going to get extra people coming in. Oh, we'll get people to come in extra shifts that aren't on the shifts. And the thing is, they ask around, and everybody's like, I don't want to come in for an extra shift. And so you end up the day of the con, you're like, where are all the extra people? Oh, they didn't show up, or they're not going to be here. Sorry, you just have to deal with this. And like I said, you're there. What are you going to do? So, well, convention's called off, we leave. No, you're just going to have to deal with the fact that not everybody's going to cover. People are going to complain. People are going to be upset because things are late. And that's why we do a lot of it. Roger, I've told you this, but we do it. That's why we handle as much as we can. That's why we hire and pay for and train our own serving girls. They're promotional people. We hired them off promotional sites, and we have the same girls because we had them years and years and years. But when we first started, we went to these promotional sites and we hired these girls that's what they do. They do promotions. And they're our face of the con, so to speak, in terms of they will take your order, they'll grab you drinks, they'll do things for you, they'll give you direct. If you need to know where something is, they know all that stuff now, and that way we don't have to rely on the hotel to fill in the spaces there. That's all under our control now. That's all our control. If somebody needs something for the food truck, the girls can go get it from the food truck, and we don't have to worry about staff. Hey, can you make sure this guy? No. Our girl goes and does it. If we have to order something, we don't worry about them doing it. It just makes it so much less trouble if that's under your control and not the hotel's control.
Thank you, Death Angel. Appreciate you. Can't wait to see you at the con. I just want to cover something that Chubby said. He said one of my goals in life is to be a special guest. Listen. I'll put you on the special guest list for CNY
next year. Yeah,
I'll get.
Dude, we can get you.
Come up to New York in June. Fly up. We'll have somebody pick you up from the airport. I'll cover your hotel. I'll cover your badge, and then you can lurk around as much as you want and study what's going on. You just got to run at least 2 games. How's that?
Yeah, great. We'll do the same thing in North Texas. We like to. There's a lot of people, unless you're an old school guy, we usually don't right off the bat make you a special guest. But if you show up a couple times and you're a great guest and people love your games and people get to know who you are, we usually come around to making you a special guest. So we'll figure out a way to get you here, Greg, in North Texas.
Yeah, if you'll sign my shadow rim, I'll pick you up from the airport.
Yeah, there you go. There you go, Greg. For the cost of a couple signatures, you can get a free ride from the airport.
There you go. There and back. I got you covered.
So there you go.
Okay, Calvin, make sure you get to the hotel before you sign it, or he might ditch you on the roadside.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. You're slowing me down.
No, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, the hotel was great. The hotel, we had like a binder set up, that they left, that the event coordinator would leave for the hotel manager and the bar manager. And so they had something to look at that had the schedule on it and kind of like what what they were supposed to do. But no, I definitely could see that, like, if we're growing, once we're expected to hit 300.
Now, the bigger the
So,
hotel is, the more they're able to deal with these situations because they do.
yeah,
It's when you get these in between hotels, like maybe your local Holiday Inn, your local Marriott, that maybe
Yeah.
If they have a convention, maybe it's a couple hundred people. They don't do the real big conventions. If you try to hit them with a
Right.
big convention, they're just not prepared for it. So the bigger the hotel, the more they're able to deal with those kind of situations, and you would probably not have issues with that.
yeah.
I think
Um,
if we hit 300 this year, it'll be a good turnout. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
good number.
No, I think
had
it's a great number.
I had a great time with 200 people there. You wouldn't know
Yeah.
it was, it
And-
was a small, intimate setting, but it was nice. I mean,
I considered capping it like 350, depending on where we land with
I know I've told you
Uh,
this a million times, but
the
I
space and
think
everything.
it's because we don't have anything in this area. There's no conventions in New York. I don't know, man. It was ripe for the picking. As a vendor, I told you I did phenomenal there, and that was a shock to all of us.
Yeah.
I didn't. We had that talk plenty of times before the convention.
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
I'm not going to make any money, but it's an hour away. I want to support it, so I'll be there.
And
it
another
was-
part of that is there are conventions in the area, but like we went to FlagCon, the one
Yeah.
down in Ithaca,
Yeah.
and all three of us when we walked in, we were like, ugh.
So
And
listen,
it wasn't, and it wasn't that
Yeah.
it was a bad con. That's not what I'm saying. But it was like, oh, this is a con for 5e, and if you don't play 5e, this con is not for you.
Or board games. A lot of board,
or
board
Magic
board-
the Gathering.
It was
And
not
Magic.
an RPG con. It was
Yeah, they had a
nothing
bunch of Magic
like what
stuff.
Roger runs.
and like
Yeah.
the vendors too, like Mike and I come, and there's nothing wrong with having a vendor that 3D prints, like I don't know, I don't want to insult anybody and say the 3D printed tchotchke stuff.
It's crap.
But
I'll
you
say
guys
it
know
for
what I
you.
mean. The little animals printed stuff and the wiggly stuff. They had like 4 vendors there that were selling that.
Also,
You
Also,
got to be careful with your when you
Yep.
choose vendors.
Yeah,
You've got to have a variety, and you don't want to get too hung up on the tchotchke people just because you can only buy so many.
right.
I went to a convention once, no lie. There was 1, 2, 3 people there selling custom made dice bags. You just don't need that many dice bag sellers at a con. It's just too many.
I have found that going to conventions, it is unlikely that I'm going to have much, if any, competition for my stuff there.
Yeah.
I do everything I do is 3D printed. It's all gaming terrain, and it's almost all hand painted. You don't find that. I mean, there's plenty of vendors out there selling those multicolored skull, dice trays or dice towers, and or just selling unpainted terrain. But anybody can get that anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To get hand painted pieces, and I think my prices are well.
Sure. Yeah.
Within reason. They're not
Yeah.
like,
Absolutely.
so it's always worked well for me. We did when we first started the business a few years ago, we did some local shows. We found, obviously I do these local shows here. D&D stuff isn't going to be my big seller. It's just not a big market for it, especially at a local holiday event. We had a holiday event that does 10,000 people every single year. It's a 2-day event. 10,000 people come through there. Costs, I don't know, what was it, $100 a table? So 2 tables, $200. I set up there. Before we did that, we did a lot of like Buffalo Bills light boxes and 3D printed articulated animals and the dragons that everybody and their cousin makes. And I told my wife after doing that, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to chase after the latest trends in 3D printing stuff and the race to the bottom with everybody else making the same thing. I'd rather just stick with what I like, go to the conventions that I enjoy. I have a great
Yeah.
time going, you know. So, but I agree with you. You can't. You don't want to get those vendors in there that are selling
Right.
articulated dragons, because
and
they're
I'd be
Facebook
very
Market-
careful with the vendor list, and I am trying really hard not to overlap.
Yeah.
Vendors and and all of that, and not just keep packing them in to get, and putting them
We had
in the-
one year we very famously had a knife vendor, and we didn't want him, but we told him that this is not the convention for you, and he absolutely insisted. He said, I do all these conventions DFW area, and I make money no matter what convention is. I make money. And he just insisted. He beat Doug down. So he finally got him, and all he did was bitch and complain the entire weekend that nobody was buying knives. I'm talking about real knives, like knives.
yeah
At the D&D convention, because I guess he
it's
thought
awesome.
D&D, they're going to buy knives and have knife fights in the rooms. I don't know what he thought.
Right.
And just to shut him up, Doug finally bought like $500 worth of knives from him and gave them to Dick, Gary, and I, and a bunch of other people just to shut the guy up, because we told him it's just not a good fit for the con, and we broke our own rule and got somebody in there that we just said this is just not going to work. But every year there's people there's some people you'll find, Roger, that just they'll apply to any con in the area. They don't care what the theme is.
Yep.
They don't care if it's gaming, crochet, race cars. They will want a booth there, and they will say that this stuff will sell it to this con, and they just want to get a vendor booth into a con. They don't care that it matches.
You must have seen my vendor application list.
No, but it's true, and so you have to very gently let some people down and say, look, it's just not that kind of con.
Yeah,
and we're gonna tell you right now, I don't care if you do great at every other con you go to, you will not do good with that at our con, because not just you're not just helping the vendor, you're helping your con, because the more people you have in there that nobody cares about, the less people are going to be interested in your vendor hall, and the less they're going to come and walk around. I mean, when you pass the person that has crochet dice bags for the 5th time, you're right. You're not selling crochet dice bags, and so nobody, people are going to say, oh, they had a guy with crochet dice bags in there, and nobody cares about crochet dice bags. At least I don't think so. But yeah, you have to be aware of who your audience is and what they're going to, what they're going to want to see. Like one of the vendors that does great with us, obviously, are people who sell used D&D stuff. We would let as many of those people as possible come to North Texas, because that is one thing you could never have too many of, because they never have the same inventory.
Right.
There's always different stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No, that stuff is like one thing. Yeah, that it doesn't matter, if there's overlap. But like Mike does, 3D printed terrain and stuff, and some painted stuff. Like I don't want another 3D printed terrain vendor, to come in.
We start having overlap then. Yeah, Mike doesn't want to compete with 5 other guys selling the same kind of shit. I mean, and I've been to conventions like that, where like I went to a convention years back. I won't say which one. They must have had 6 people there with the same dice towers. They all had dice towers. Yeah. You're only going to buy one dice tower, guys. And so
I know exactly what dice tower you mean too.
And that's it. And then everybody else can be sitting there staring at their dice towers the whole time, and they're not going to sell anything. And you're going to have an unhappy vendor, and you're going to have people walking by the table that don't want to buy the dice tower. And
so healing crystals, Mike. You got room for one of those?
I think I've seen a healing crystal before.
Here's the nice thing: you're not going to walk in and find stuff like this at most vendor tables.
Hang on, let me put it in the.
That's pretty cool.
There you go.
Move it over here.
Way, yeah. There you go.
I mean, pieces like that are the stuff that I try and focus on, because you're just not gonna, you're not gonna find them anywhere. You can't walk into a store and buy it. They can be prohibitive to ship. Not cost wise, but they're just a pain. Big pieces like that, fragile.
Yeah.
I mean, Stan knows I shipped you that tower. I had to make a custom box for that thing. That thing was like,
it was massive.
Yeah. I'm thinking about bringing 2 of them with me to Central New York. One regular one and one. Yeah. One of you should painted up. And,
nice.
I don't know. I don't know if there's enough market for a lot of big pieces, or if I should just stick with the small stuff. I don't know. We'll see.
You better bring 2. I think Vince is going to buy one.
Okay.
There's a con that Roger and I have been to several times, and they always have the exact same vendors. And one of them, she sells smelly soap, And
back.
I mean, it's like 90 different perfumes mixed, and it is an ungodly
Yeah.
reek that you cannot escape from when you walk into the con. So when Roger was plotting his vendors, he asked for my input, and the first thing I said was, "You're not bringing in the soap lady, are you?"
No soap.
Not
And
the
he was
soap
like,
lady.
"No,
Yeah.
we're not doing that." I was like, "Thank God, dude." I mean, it would give me a headache by the end of the day, man.
That's
Dude,
hilarious.
Who goes to RPG cons to buy soap?
They opened that store, Buff City Soap or whatever, in the plaza over here in New Hartford, and I couldn't get past the door. I like opened the door and it just hit me, and I was like, nope. I can't walk in that store. My
Hey,
eyes start watering and everything.
I got something
Yeah.
to show you. So I printed another turtle, the big
Oh, the
turtle with
turtle.
Did you?
the giant turtle with the. It's all
Oh,
printed,
my
ready to
God.
paint. So hey, you got to show this one. You gotta,
Chubby doesn't watch.
Yeah.
That's how I'm reading that.
Give me a big camera here before I show you this one, because I printed something else to go with it. Don't tell Leo.
Oh, the standing up one.
The standing
Yeah,
one.
the standing one.
It's awesome.
He's huge. He's
That
bigger
is
than my
awesome.
freaking head.
That's
Do
pretty.
you
bad.
have one of the walking ones nearby?
It's
Or
in
no?
the other room. I
No,
can
no,
go grab it. I can go grab it. Just give me a second.
All right, yeah, if you want to after. Mike, you got to see this thing. It's got it's this huge turtle, and it's got like a village, like it's got like buildings and stuff built on its back.
Yeah.
And I saw that thing, and I'm like, I want to run like a West Marches or something campaign, and have that as like the like a movable base, for the players going out in the wilderness, and the thing like moves along like maybe 1 hex a day or something, and just they get a movable town or whatever. It's just awesome looking. But yeah, so conventions, yeah, and props, Mike. I know I've said it before, but I mean, you've done a fantastic job with North Texas, and I think to a lot of the people running conventions, that's kind of become like the gold standard of like the small convention, because you've done just fantastic with it, and I mean, a lot of what I've done and stuff is just copying you. I mean,
We've been very
that's
lucky
been that,
because very few conventions choose not to get bigger. It's not not in the DNA of a convention to stay small. You make more money. I mean, it's a cut and dried business. I mean, the more people you bring in, the more money you make, and you can make a lot of. Let's say you have 1,000 people come in. Do the math. If 1,000 people come in, they're all paying $100 for the weekend. You just made a lot of money, and you're going to have enough money to pay all your special guests and the venue. Plus, you're going to make some money, and so people see that and they're like, oh, well, what if I have 2,000, 3,000, 4,000? And they get caught up in the fact that I want this thing to get bigger because I want to be able to bank $100,000 or $200,000. And so they never really get to one spot where they're happy or they're doing everything they need to do. When you say we're only going to do 500 people, you get real good at doing 500 people. And that's what we are now.
Yeah.
We're very good at doing the amount of people we have. Now, if next year, Gary decided we need 1,000, it's a different story. Then like, oh, everything's changed now. We've got to deal with 1,000 people. And then if the year after that, there's a danger in growing too fast. And we've seen conventions where this happens, where they're like, look, we're making a buttload of money. We're going to double our people next year. We're going to double the year after that. And it just gets out of control. It gets out of their control because nobody gets good at any one thing. Everything's kind of half-assed. I mean, now the people are still having a great time. The vendors are doing okay, but nobody's having the ultimate con experience because the con isn't that good at dealing with that many people because they've never had to deal with that.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And there's been a lot of smaller conventions that have popped up that I've seen in the last like 5 years or so. Even like, I mean, I started one up here because there wasn't one, and then now there's like 3 or 4 of them that have popped up like within 4 or 5 hours or so, of here. There's a couple in Massachusetts and like Connecticut, things like that. There's the one in Maine. That's like 6 hours away, but it's all like starting to pop up. What do you think?
Like a bad thing.
I like, well, no, I like a small convention. I would rather go to a convention that's got, between 300 and 600 people or so. Like I think that's where it's at.
But you also want vendors like Page type. That's something that you and I have talked about a lot. We want the playability of a small con, so that we can find the games we want to play, and it's cozy and it's nice. But like PAX, you want to be able to walk around and see what's out there, and that's one of those things where you and I differ a lot. I never need to go to PAX again. It's just too much for me. I start getting weirded out, and man, honestly, it's how many more offshoots of 5e do I need to see somebody hawking at me?
Sure.
I just don't need it. But like Mike said, if you had 30 vendors all selling old school stuff, I would go see every single one of those guys.
Yeah.
So
No, I get it. Yeah, Mike, you got that?
Yeah. So listen, I gotta just kind of, none of it's glued together. So I just set it here, and I gotta be careful with it.
Yeah,
It's not fully assembled yet.
Oh wow,
yeah, that's
badass, dude.
that's awesome.
Yeah. All
That
of
is
the
so cool.
all of the pieces on the top come off, so you can use any combination of them. And I don't think I'm going to do it with this one. I think I'm going to attach the shell. So the
Do you have
bottom,
it?
so
Or-
you can take it off, and then you can just print a shell for it also, so it doesn't have the thing on top.
Yeah.
The only problem
awesome.
is the way they made this. It's just a smooth surface, so when you set the stuff on it, it's just sitting there.
Yeah.
So I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'm just going to glue the shell to it, and I will probably print another one with just a shell and then one with the store on. So I'll have 3 different ones. I'll have the main turtle, the standing turtle, and the one with the shop. And I'll say it again, same as I did last time. If I make these things and I paint them up and I take them to the conventions and they don't sell, I'm not going to cry because I'll use them in my game. They're such cool pieces.
Yeah.
But don't let Leo know. He'll be buying that standing one before I even get a chance to paint.
He will,
the thing.
yeah.
Excellent.
He's probably already messaging you, right? Yeah, small conventions where it's at. No, I like to go to like, PAX or Page, or what, to go, for the vendors. Obviously, I've said that. Like I think you get a better vendor. I mean, not better vendor experience, right? But you could see, like, I go there to shop. I mean, it's like a shopping mall of RPGs and gaming, stuff. So that's why I like going to PAX, like PAX Unplugged,
Sure.
right? And but definitely for gaming, like hands down, I'd rather go to a sub 1,000 people convention. Like absolutely.
Well, I mean, they just do different things. I mean, I've been to Gen Con before. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I've been to PAX. I've been to a lot of things, but I think the older I get, the more I'm really concentrating on smaller. Like this year, all the conventions I'm hitting, I'm going to like Texoma Con. I'm going to Egg Con. They're all small. They're all smaller conventions. I'm going to Wizard Con in a month. I just don't want to deal with the noise, the crowds, the mess. I mean, but look, it's fun to go to Gen Con. Go at least once. Go to Gen Con at least once or twice. Go to PAX is a totally different experience. I had fun at PAX, even though I thought their gaming stuff was light, but it's just so cool to see all the different media they have there and the stuff they do there. PAX is really cool, but it's just not my preferred place to go anymore. The older I get, I can't hear anything. I don't want all these.
Yeah.
I don't need to get sick. And man, the more people you have, the more chance you're going to come on with con crud. I don't need con crud. I mean, there's just a lot of issues to me with, and also I like to go to smaller conventions because I like to talk to people. I like to sit down at a table with 3 or 4 people and have a beer and talk and not have to scream and shout. Because I've had conventions where I had to do that. The last time I went to GaryCon, the bar was so full that we were having to shout. We were having to yell in each other's ears right next to each other, and that just wasn't the experience I remember from earlier. I had a better experience at earlier GaryCons where we were just sitting around a table and we're all talking, and that was
the same thing at the bar at the hotel at Page, because it was such a small area. It was in the front lobby, and it was such a small area that everybody was packed in there. So it was a good time, but yeah, it was a lot of yelling over people.
Yeah,
I don't know how people set up and gamed right in the middle of that all. Like set up a table and we play games, and I'm like, I don't know how they could even hear each other.
The only thing at CNY, CNY is small enough, right, where we don't really have those issues, and it's at a hotel. I think that's different too, But we had the only like loud noise or whatever issue that we had is we didn't realize this until we really got there. They do karaoke at the hotel bar on Friday night, but and they kind of mentioned that, and I was like, okay, whatever.
Listen,
but it was crazy. There were how many people were in that bar, Mike?
There were a hell of a lot of people.
I wasn't there Friday night, so I don't know.
Oh,
I was there Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, I got there Friday.
So listen, is that going to impact the movie?
No.
Well,
we'll be fine. There's a wall. It's quiet. It's fine.
I think all of us gamers should invade the karaoke Friday night.
Yeah, a few drinks. Start singing. Yeah,
get a few drinks in us and go invade.
A few drinks. Death Angel. How far?
1 year, and he worried about it every single day for 365 days.
It was more than a year. It was more than a year. Yeah, it was like a year and 3 months.
I was about to say, well, yeah, it was like 15. It was like 15 months because he first told me that he was going to do it in June, and I was like, 3 months from now? What do you fucking know? Sorry. Damn it. I was like, are you freaking nuts? And he was like, no, next June. And I was like,
next June, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's Roger, since it's all legal in New York, should I stop by my local craft beer store before I leave and pick up some THC party favors for everybody?
Oh my God.
I'll just start passing out gummies to everybody Friday night.
Oh my God. Hey, you want a lozenge? You want a lozenge? Just don't tell them. Yeah, you want a lozenge? Here you go.
No, they're like chewy gummies.
Yeah. Oh, have a gummy. Have gummy.
Have you guys ever been to Emerald City Comic-Con in Seattle?
No.
That was the first con I ever went to. It was when I was living in Alaska, and there were no cons in Alaska. So I flew to Seattle with the manager of the comic book store. He and I went, and Stephanie went. And man, I have to say, it was a very large con, but it was amazing. The venue's really big, but they controlled the population so that even though there were a lot of people there, it fit the venue. Like they had a massive artist alley. They had Magic the Gathering players down in the basement where they belong, and you could smell them from the top floor. I'm not making that up. And but then there was another floor just solely gaming. They had all kinds of cosplay going on. That's maybe it's not a large con. Maybe it's called a mid-size. But man, I went 4 times and they were incredible all 4 times. Really thoroughly enjoyed them. And Seattle's a heck of a lot of fun to hang out in. So,
how many? You said it was mid-size or whatever. How many?
I would have to look. Honestly, man, if I gave you a number, I would be making it up. But I'll find out for you. Yeah, I'll look it up.
Yeah, no, I was just curious because I thought it was big. I thought it was like 10,000 plus people.
I don't know. I would compare it to PAX East, and PAX East to me felt huge, like way too.
Thanks
big.
for coming, Chubby. It's good to see you.
Thanks, Chubby. Appreciate it, man. I would kind of compare it to PAX East, but PAX East felt huge, and also PAX East is it's inside a massive warehouse. There's not different floors, nothing's really separated. It's kind of like at Page where you've got the stands with the curtains that do absolutely nothing for you, and so it was super loud, and PAX East is also a video game convention. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So you've got guys playing video games, and there were Tekken tournaments, so it's really loud, but like the only thing that I felt like, wow, it's really loud in here at Emerald City was the vendor hall. Well, of course it's going to be loud. That's where everyone's at.
Yeah.
But the gaming area was really subdued. It was damn near a flawless con. I really had a good time all 4 years.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Great time.
Wow.
Awesome. But I'll look it up and I'll get the numbers for you. We'll find out.
Mike, you ever been to Emerald City Comic-Con or Emerald City?
No, I had a chance 1 year to go. My aunt was at the hotel, believe it or not, hotel. San Diego Comic-Con was actually at a hotel back in the old days. And she invited me out to go. And I kicked myself for the last 40 years that I didn't go when she was the concierge at the hotel. but no, I've never been there. Like I said, the biggest cons I've probably been to. I've been to Gen Con a few times. I went to PAX Southwest, which they don't have anymore. PAX Southwest is gone, and I've been to a few big comic cons. I can't remember the exact names, but I mostly stick to the smaller cons for, I just like the atmosphere a lot more. I mean, like you guys are saying, it's fun to go to a big con sometimes because there's so many dealers there, and there's so like one of the cool things about Gen Con is the auction, because the auction goes on all day long from the morning till the evening, and you could step in at any time. There's an auction going on. You're going to see something. I mean, I've had entire Gen Cons where I spent most of my time in the auction hall just because it's fun. It's just cool to look for stuff going on sale. But for the most part, I remember the one thing I remember my first Gen Con, which I thought was crazy, was that they had offsite gaming also, not just at the convention center. And you go in a hotel room, and it's like we're talking about noise. There would be like 8 tables set up in a room for 3. And they're literally back to back, chairs to chairs. I mean, and I looked at that and said, I never want to do that at our con, ever do that.
Yeah.
That's why at our con we keep 2 tables a room. We have sound bafflers. We have a lot of older special guests too. A lot of our special guests are in their 70s. They don't hear very well. I just find that one thing that drives me crazy going to a con is just the noise, the loud murmur of noise where you can't hear yourself think when you're sitting at a table and running a game, and the guy next to you is running Call of Cthulhu, and this guy over here is running something, and they're yelling about something, and I just don't want to do that.
And then they're volume battling. Yeah,
then it just starts going up and up and up because everybody
And then in order to get a word in, you gotta start screaming and stuff, and it's crazy.
So I have the numbers for Emerald City.
Oh yeah. What do you got?
I was mistaken. In 2016, which was the first time that I went, 88,000 people.
Wow.
Holy shit.
It peaked in 2019, which was right before COVID, and that was 98,000 people. And since then, it floats around 90. I would never have guessed it was that many people. And really, for me, that kind of says a lot about how well organized it was. Yeah, I would have never have guessed nearly 100,000 people at this freaking con. That's crazy. Wow. It was a great time. Great time. Yeah. Stephanie and I both had a blast.
That's awesome.
Ducato, I know you follow up on the Throne and Ash stuff from Printable Scenery. Yeah. So I've been working on this big order. Started it yesterday. So you saw the bridge, right? Well, yeah. There's one side, and actually both sides are mirrors. So you can have 2 of those. And then you have the middle piece here.
Oh my God, there's a middle.
Holy shit.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it's enormous. I tried to set it up to get a picture of it, but it's too big to put on the table to try and get a picture. So I was like,
God.
I almost reached out to you about that because I want one for the Mordheim board that I want to build.
Yeah, I want one for myself now after printing this thing. It's pretty cool. And there's different configurations. The guy that wanted this one, I know he doesn't have the castle stuff, so I didn't make one of the configurations. You can have the other end of the bridge up high, so it connects to the castle walls.
That's what they show in the pictures. Like they show like a tower at one end, and
so you could do the lower. There's even a curved one where the bottom curves and goes up, but I just did that for him.
That thing looks awesome.
Yeah, he ordered like 4 huge sets, all ruined. It's like $1,000 order, and it's one of my regular customers. And no, it's not Leo, but it's one of my big paying customers that I don't even question it. He was like. He didn't even ask for the price. I'm like, I haven't even priced it yet because I've never printed one. So I'm like, yeah, I'll. He goes, do you think you can do that? I said, I will start printing them in the morning. He gave me a thumbs up, and that was it.
Nice.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, show like when you get it done. If you think of it, I'd love to see the whole thing.
I just got an order of. I use that. I forgot what brand it is. It comes in a big jar of. I use it like a wash. It's the dipping formula, the sepia one. That's what I use for all the stone stuff. I will spray it with Army Painter skeleton bone, and then I'll wash the whole thing with that sepia, and then I use a black wash to pick out bricks and then dry brush it. So it's actually not that hard to paint it.
That's pretty fast.
But it's the nice part is it stays consistent across the whole line of stuff.
Yeah, so everything works. Yeah.
He sees
cool.
it like he's like, oh, you got more of that desert stuff. I'm like, what desert stuff? Oh, these because of the color. He says they're all desert stuff.
Right.
So, but yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
saw they just put out a tutorial. I don't know if you saw it today. They did that ruined tower in gray instead of the other
Yeah, I
color.
did see that.
So I might
I
do
did
one of
see
those
that.
in gray too. Start doing.
I do
some
most
stuff.
of my stuff in gray. I did some of the like the stuff I got from you, the Hagglethorn Hollow and the gloaming stuff. I did that in that more desert, like because it matches the original Hagglethorn Hollow stuff I have.
Yeah.
But usually I
Yeah,
do stuff in gray.
Yeah, it kind of sucks that they took that stuff away. The
Yeah,
only thing that
that's-
irritates me is it's stuff that I paid for,
Yeah.
and my license is dependent on it,
Yeah.
and then they took
I
it away.
download it anymore. Yeah.
I could still
Yeah.
download and print for myself, but I can't sell it anymore.
Oh, you
Because
can't sell it. Okay.
They no longer have it on
Right.
their site. So
Yeah.
me as a paying customer, I could still download it and print for myself, but they sent me an email and said that is off the
You can't
license.
do
You
it.
cannot sell that stuff. I said, okay.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
It wasn't a big seller
Oh.
for me anyways.
Yeah,
the only
yeah.
person that's ever asked me for it was Ducato. I think a lot of people see the other. Well, I mean, some of this other stuff they're doing these days is really cool. This Throne and Ash set was amazing.
Yeah, I mean it's advanced. I mean even like I have the stuff from King and Country. I have some stuff from King and Country, and even like from that like castle set to what they're doing now is it's a lot of advancements in how they do things.
Like those ruined towers, you saw I painted up two of them
Yeah.
the other day. They were sold the night I painted them. I posted pictures on Facebook,
Crazy.
and 2 people messaged me right away wanting them. So I had to print up 2 more. I don't think I'm gonna post any pictures. I'm just gonna paint them and set them aside for Central New York. So I have them.
Do you use terrain, Mike? Do you use terrain and stuff in your games?
We used to. I had a quite extensive collection of Dwarven Forge, like a lot, because I got in at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And after a while, it just became such a hassle to haul that stuff around and set it up for games. And we just use a vinyl pad and markers now, and because it was fun to play that way for a while. But to having to stop down before a combat and set the room up, and then just storing all that stuff and having to travel with it, it just got too much. And so we're kind of back to basics now. We have we use just really basic terrain stuff, and we extend now. We're huge on miniatures. I've got thousands of miniatures, so we're big on miniatures. We have boxes of miniatures to use. So if they have to fight a Durgar army of 50, I've got 50 Durgar miniatures. We can throw those out there. But yeah, the terrain stuff, in theory, I think it's awesome. In practice, it just gets, after a while, I just beat you down. There's just so much to keep track of. And then you break it accidentally because you drop somewhere, you knock. Mike knows how that is. I'm sure he's broke stuff many a time, just moving it from a shelf to another shelf. And so I ended up a few years ago selling it and made quite a lot of money selling that old Dwarven Forge. So that Dwarven Forge is
Do you have the resin stuff?
Yes.
Yeah,
I had
why. Yeah.
I was part of the very first Kickstarter, and plus I bought it even before that. Back when it was Monster Maze or Maze, whatever it's called,
Yep.
Master Maze.
Wow.
And
Master
so,
Maze, yeah.
I had some really cool, and we used the hell of it. We loved it. But like I said, God, having to pick it up, and guys, once you're not a bachelor anymore and you're married, your wife doesn't appreciate the Dwarven Forge sitting on the kitchen table for 3 days. She wants it up right when the game's over, and that was like something I had to build up to after I'm not going to touch it today. I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll put a couple pieces away. Like, no, she wants it all up like right now. I'm like, oh God, I'm getting too old for the shit. So I just. Like I said, theory. And look, some of the stuff they have nowadays is awesome. I mean, the terrain they have now is incredible. But it's just too much.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
I'll
You're
tell you
truly
what,
a wealth of knowledge on conventions. Kudos to you, Mike.
I've
He's
gotten
blowing
lucky.
smoke. I know I had agile.
I've gotten lucky. I mean, Roger can attest to this one. My wife doesn't game. She doesn't play, but she's into fantasy stuff. She loves MMOs. She loves fantasy movies, Lord of the Rings, all that kind of stuff. But she comes to the conventions with me and helps me run the booth. And this year is the first year leading up to Page. she'd literally come home from work and be like, "What do you need help with?" Oh,
Yeah.
she goes, "Let me paint something." I go, "Are you sure?" She'd never painted before. I'm like, "Here, just base coat these. Just do that." Well,
Paint
what
this
if
rock.
she goes, "What if I screw it up?" I go, "You can't screw it up. You're just base coating it.
Yeah.
Just base coat it." She'd finish. She'd be like, "What else you want me to do?" I'm like, "Do you want to try something else?" I go, "Well, dry brush this." All right, how do I do? I go, I'd show her, and she'd be like, "Okay," off she goes. Next thing you know, she's doing detail work. At that point, she stopped asking and just started picking up things and painting them. And there was so much stuff in my booth that, people would be like, "Oh, you did an amazing job painting it." I go, "Well, up until this year, I'd take credit for it all. But, my wife over here did half of it." And,
Yeah.
it's
Nice.
even when like D'Angelo, he came
Mhm.
around and did a video at my booth. I wasn't there at the time. 10 minutes interviewed my wife talking all about it. And she's talking all about the stuff I do and we paint it and this stuff. And she's been great. So I don't really have
Yeah.
that. I don't get she'll actually buy me stuff for my game room. All my art on the walls was all from her. She bought them all as gifts for me for birthdays or Christmas or whatever. And I didn't really ask for it. She would ask me like, "Hey, if you wanted some art, do you have any ideas?" And I'd send her a list of it, and then it'd be months later I'd get something, and out of the blue, and it would just be like, okay. So I got lucky in that respect.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Like I said, she doesn't participate in the games, but like she'll be in Central New York.
Yeah.
I don't know if she'll stay or if she'll drive back and forth, but she'll come
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
My daughter will be there running the booth. So I got lucky in that respect.
Yeah. Nice. That's awesome. What I wanted to touch on one more thing with the conventions. And Mike, I kind of want your opinion on this from running, North Texas and stuff. But what do you think? Like conventions, obviously they've been there since like the beginning or before the beginning, even, right? Like, are they integral to the hobby? Do you think like would the hobby die if like conventions went away?
Well, it's really interesting because when I first started going to conventions in the late '70s, I'm a gigantic. You see, well, I'm a gigantic comic book guy. I collected comics way before I even collected game stuff, and I would go to a lot of comic book conventions. And back the days before social media in the late '70s, early '80s, that was the only way you ever met up other comic book guys. That and I worked at
Yeah.
a comic book store part time, and so I'd meet people that had that same hobby. Back then, you just didn't have the means to actually meet people that also did your hobby. And I think a lot of that, the same thing for gaming conventions. I started going to gaming conventions in the mid '80s, and that was the same thing. I started seeing a lot of stuff that I didn't own, I never saw for sale ever before. I started meeting a lot of people that played D&D that I didn't know played, and so I think it's yeah. I think a long time ago it was more integral to our hobby just because
Sure.
you didn't have the kind of social media we have now. Now, I still
Yeah.
think it's important to have face-to-face stuff, and that's one reason why Eric and Jim and I on Talking Crit, we're always ripping on WotC for wanting to keep pushing and pushing, their online stuff, which is great. It's fun to be able to look. Some people, they live in the middle of nowhere, they don't have anybody to play with. It's great to hop online and be able to play with a guy in Maine, and one guy's in Wisconsin, and the other guy's in California, and one guy's in the Ukraine. I mean, that's awesome. But you're always going to have to have that face-to-face element because
Yeah.
the hobby itself is a social hobby. It came about because guys were trapped in Wisconsin during the winter with nothing to do except freeze their butts off.
Yeah.
And they didn't have anything else to do. And so they had these wargaming clubs where they would all get together in Gary's basement and other bases, and they'd wargame. And then once role-playing games came around, then they started getting together and role-playing. And it was a huge social event in the days before social media. Well,
Yeah.
now we have social media, and there's all kinds of ways to meet people, and there's all kinds of ways to stay abreast of the hobby. But we crave that face-to-face aspect. I mean, I'm always surprised at all the people that just want to they want to go to conventions so bad. I mean, I like to go to conventions, okay, but if you knew me, you'd know that I don't game a lot of conventions. I game a little bit. I'm not a big convention game guy. I'm more of a campaign game kind of guy. I like to put
Sure.
work into a campaign. But there's something to be said for going to a convention, being handed a sheet of paper with, Rolfo the dwarf, and you have to go through a dungeon. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the guys around you. You don't know them. You don't know if you're going to get along, or you're going to argue. You're going to end up dying in the first room of the dungeon because you're not cooperating. You don't know, but that's a big draw in the hobby, is that whole, face-to-face, I just met you aspect. Of course, then afterwards you all go to the bar and you have a beer and you start talking. So yeah, I'd say it is very important. Maybe not as important as it was 40 years ago, but it's still, just by look at the renaissance we've had in conventions just since COVID.
Yeah,
I mean, COVID. I was telling my wife the other day, everything. We look at our lives now, all these different events in our life, like I have 9/11, I have this, I have that. I mean, you look at these things and you think of before that happened and after. Well, nowadays we're all going before and after COVID. Here's how things were before COVID. Here's how things were after COVID. Before COVID, conventions were doing really good. I know our convention had gone up a lot of numbers. Gary Con had a huge year. Everybody had their best year. Then COVID happened and everything got just stopped cold for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And people started gaming online, right? Because that's all they could do. Yep. And I knew a lot of people that never gamed ever until COVID. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, Mike, guess what, man? I'm playing D&D. What? Yeah, man, I'm in this online campaign. You were right, man. D&D is awesome. And I'm playing this other game called Call of Cthulhu. Yeah. It's awesome, too. And you're like, well, that's so cool. So it got a lot of people into gaming. But if you noticed, as COVID started getting – people started getting vaccinated. People started getting better. COVID started going away. Those online groups started disappearing. And suddenly, I had a friend I worked with, a female girl, and she was in 3 D&D campaigns, never played before in her life. Wow. And then after a year after COVID, she was in 0 because it was just something she did to kill time. And I've noticed in the last few years, the face-to-face element is building up again. People are realizing it was fun to play online during COVID. That was cool, but we had no choice. We couldn't get together face-to-face. Yeah. Now that I can get together face-to-face, I want to see the miniatures. I want to get there and have the vinyl laid out. I want to sit around a table and all be networking with my friends. And I think it's on a comeback trail, and that's evidenced by. So the conventions I'm going to, so your convention, you're going to be in your second year, Roger. Yep. Wizard Con, this is their second year. Lake Texoma Con, this is their first year. Egg Con, this is their third year. I'm going to Long Con, that's their 5th or 6th year. I've got another convention I'm going to. It's T-Fest. T-Fest, it's their second year. Notice how all those conventions, none of them are over 10 years old. Yeah. They're all
just started a few years. Yeah.
A lot of them popped up since COVID because the need for everybody to get together again face to face is so huge.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's awesome. I'll be at WizardCon as well. So that'll be
I will see you there. I'm going with Zach. It's kind of a weird. I'll explain the whole thing to you when I see you because it's such a long story. Nobody here cares about it. But we'll be driving his Tesla there. He bought a Tesla. He bought a Cybertruck. He's coming to pick me up from Arizona, and then we're going to drive up there. So we will be there that weekend in the Cybertruck doing he does it. There's a button you can push it, and your Cybertruck, all the windows open and lights, and you have a rain. It's weird. So I gotta see that. But no, so we'll be there, and it's gonna be fun. We're excited. It was kind of a last minute thing. He had to drop something off in Wisconsin, and Battle Creek's only 5 hours away from where we're going to be. So I said, well, let's go. Yeah, let's go to WizardCon. We're going to be right down the street from WizardCon. So
nice.
Is there like a button in that thing you can press to open the roof up to make it into like a full-blown dumpster?
Dude, you would not believe. There's a button for everything in here. There probably is. There's something called rave mode. So you push it and it starts playing music. Lights start going off. The doors all open up. The trunk opens and there's just lights flashing. It's bum, 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 bum. And there's just bass going. And you're like, what have we become in the 21st century? We have rave mode in our Cybertrucks. But I tell you what, I was not a big Tesla anything, but I drove in one and I have to realize and admit it's the future of driving because you don't drive. It drives you. And my God, it's going to be so much safer than a bunch of idiots getting in cars drunk or half
Yeah.
stoned or not or asleep or not paying attention. I mean, it gets you. You just tell it, I want to go here, and it drives you there, and you get out. And
I'm
we
all
were
for
going to
that
see-
stuff.
Oh man, it's so much safer. I know in Texas we've had, I don't know how you guys are doing up there, but we've had two really, really horrible trucking accidents in the last year where a lot of people were killed. I mean, and it was
wow.
all, it was driver error. Both times it was driver error. It was people who weren't trained very well, or their trucks were not in working condition type thing. And man, once they start doing, they've already tested in Texas. They're testing it along a highway called Highway 20, which goes through the middle of Texas. Once they get through, truckers, I feel bad for truckers. They're not going to have a job. These semis are going to drive themselves, and they're going to drive safer than humans because the semi doesn't need to be on uppers to drive for 18 hours straight. It doesn't get drunk. It doesn't get tired.
Yeah.
It does, and so the Tesla. I was thinking about my mom the other day. My mom is 83 years old, and she doesn't drive anymore because she's a smart lady, doesn't trust herself, and she knows her reflexes are slowed, and it's probably not a good idea.
It's like taking a taxi.
She just
It's
takes
like taking a
Uber or Lyft. But I tell you what, if you get a Tesla, my mom could get behind the wheel of a Tesla and tell it to bring her to the grocery store to the grocery store, and she won't have to worry about touching the steering wheel or messing with it. And so I changed my mind totally on EVs. I was so out on EVs. I was like, I would never get an EV. This, that. And then once I rode in one and I saw how safe they are and how amazing they are, I was like, dude, this is the future of driving. I mean, I had a job. I worked for a drug company. It was a drug testing company for 13 years, and I drove 100,000 miles a year. That's how much I drove as a service rep. I mean, I drove all over DFW, and I was extremely lucky. Then that time I only got into 2 wrecks. Both times I was rear-ended, so they weren't my fault. But I can't tell you, I probably almost died half a dozen times where just something happens and you just, oh my God. And the EVs are going to make it so that those kind of jobs are going to be much safer. You're not going to have to worry about some idiots road raging. I had a guy in road rage tried to kill me once. I mean, seriously, it's another long story. I'll tell you sometime. But yeah, he wanted to kill me. It was over something so little and tiny. But just driving in DFW traffic, he followed me 30 minutes trying to run me off the road. I mean, it was, and this
really
is before we had cell phones. Nobody to call. I mean, I just, and I finally ended up driving to the police station to park in front of the police station just because he was very persistent. And it was because I cut him off by accident too, by the way. Didn't mean to cut him off, but he was just enraged. And I don't know if he had a gun in the car or not, but he was not a happy camper. And I was just trying to get away from it the whole time. But you're going to eliminate that kind of shit because the car is just going to take all the responsibility for driving, and you're going to have all these cars drive. It's like that scene in what's the Philip K. Dick novel they did the remake of? The cars are just driving on these.
Yeah, they're just driving past each other super quick and everything.
Yeah, and because they don't.
Minority Report.
And the only time you drive the car is when you're in the country and but when you're in the city, they jump on the grid and you just go back and forth and everything. And I saw that. I was like, man, I would kill for that because I don't trust people. People aren't good drivers most of the time. I think
you being mean to Tom Tullis?
Oh, that guy. Oh, no, I don't have to be nice. So Tom Tullis. He's going to lie to you, but he's going to say he's banned from my con.
Love your stuff, Tom. It's good stuff.
Yeah, whatever. We'll promote it. He's going to say he's banned from my con. I have invited him to be a special guest numerous times, and he has given me the middle finger every time. And he falsely tells people that I banned him from my con. He is not banned. He just chooses not to attend because he's a mean person. He's a jerk.
So. I don't know if you remember. I think last week I told you that my resin printer crapped out on me. At a total failure.
You said it flooded and everything else.
I managed to scrape off the screen and get it cleaned off, and today I decided to do a test print. So what did I go with? Tom just released the dwarven skeletons, so you can't see them very well in this picture. I had to print up some dwarven skeletons. They came out pretty well. So my printer's back up and running. Thankfully.
It's awesome. But
I can, I'll print up about 10 more of these things and add them to my selection of about 50 of the different skeletons that he's released. Because I'm like Bad Mike
Yeah.
said, if you want skeletons, I'm going to have at least 50 of them in my cabinet.
But sometimes
Yeah.
you need 50 skeletons, Mike. You do.
Sure.
I know that's the thing with having all these 3D printers is my terrain collection hasn't grown fast enough because I keep selling it all. But my miniature collection, I generally don't do resin minis at my booth. I just have a single resin printer. I do them for my own stuff. So they just keep growing and growing. I've got thousands and thousands of minis here.
Yeah, I want to print what's that game? He's got that sci-fi game. It's like a Star Trek miniature ship game for this Fat Dragon Games.
I know what you're talking about.
Battlefront Valkyrie, is that
Yes,
the name of it?
yes.
I'd love to get some of that print out and maybe have somebody running that at CNY. So,
It's funny with this last kit.
Tom, you can come to Central New York RPG Con. All right.
Oh yeah,
Tom,
why don't you go to that con? Don't come to my con though. But go visit Roger and them because you're a jerk. He goes to Origins. By the way,
nice
he goes
to
to
you.
Origins every year. He goes to Origins, so he can make Origins. Now he does live down the street from Origins, so I'll give him a break on that one. So he does go to Origins.
Origins isn't that far from us, Central New York. He's probably 6 hours.
Yeah,
It's
Origins
about that,
is
yeah.
closer than that, I think, isn't it? Origins is probably
It's in Columbus. It's about 6 hours.
is it 6? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Cool.
kind of been on my bucket list for years. Eventually, I don't know. I'll probably make it there when I'm 80. But no, I've always wanted to go to Origins. I've heard that Origins is very much like Gen Con before Gen Con went insane and has 75,000 people. I heard it's way more like the Gen Con of old that would have like last year I went to Gen Con, it had 29,000 people. And last year, I believe it had 80 or whatever, or having 70. So it's a different animal entirely now. So,
yeah. Oh boy, you guys.
yeah, he might have been the road rage driver that tried to kill me that time. Then I think,
maybe he was.
Yeah,
He heard you
I'm
talking
thinking it
about
may
him.
have been him. Now that I'm looking at him.
So, so Mike, you're considered a collector. I don't know. That's what people say about you anyway. That you're an RPG collector. Do you consider yourself a collector?
I'm a So, some of my back history is the first what I would consider the real collector D&D is obviously Bill Meinhardt. For those who know Bill Meinhardt, he started going to Gen Cons when he was like 13 years old and started buying stuff because he thought this stuff would be worth money. I think he bought the first ever Orange B3 that was ever auctioned at Gen Con for like $400 or something.
Oh
He had to save up all his little Bill Meinhardt money, from Paper Route or whatever, and he bought it. But back until about the mid 90s, I think the book there's a book that came out early 90s, and it's kind of the holy grail. It's called Heroic Worlds, and it's a book by Lawrence Schick, who worked for he worked for TSR, and it lists every single RPG that had come out until that time. Every single RPG, plus every supplement, printing dates, what they're about, reviews, everything under all these categories. And so this came out, I want to say, in 91, and it's complete up to about 91 or so. And I think when people got this book, they were like, whoa, there's a lot of stuff out there I don't have. And this was kind of my introduction to actually collecting D&D and MERP and Villains and Vigilantes, all that stuff, because you finally had a list of everything that had been published for those. Judges Guild. This was a huge boon to my Judges Guild collecting because I had very little of it till I found that. So early 90s, the internet started, and before then, the only way you could find old D&D stuff was you either had to live in Wisconsin or areas where there's giant conventions, which I didn't, or go to Gen Con, which I was in Texas. Texas in the 70s was a wasteland. There was no gaming conventions really. But once the internet opened up, I finished my Judges Guild collection. I finished my MERP collection. I finished my Rollmaster. All these different genres, I made a list based on Heroic Worlds, and I finished them out. And so at that point, I'm like, well, I've got one of everything. How about one of everything in shrink wrap? And then at that point, it's like, okay, well, I need playing copies of everything. So at one point, I had 3 copies of everything ever published by TSR, Merp,
Wow.
all these companies, Twilight 2000, whatever you can think of that existed, before like 94, 95. And that was the point that I said to myself, do I need all these copies? And I didn't. And that was also the point when I got on AOL had a thing called AOL Marketplace back in the day, which I guess is kind of a lot like Facebook Marketplace is now. You get on there and there'd be people like, hey, I've got all this stuff.
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
some stuff to sell. And back then it was all based on trust. Like so I'd say, hey man, I need do you have the Forgotten Realms book? Like, yeah. How much you want for? $20 plus $5 shipping. Okay. Well, I'm going to send you a check or a money order.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And you're going to send it to me, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you open up the mail, there's a check in the mail, you package your thing. It was all based on trust. I mean, because they were sending you checks and money orders.
Yeah.
So I live in an area where there's a book company called Half Price Books, and they started in DFW. And at the time, there was 18 to 19 stores in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and people would just come in and dump their game collections, like an entire collection, 200 books. And back then, they were literally half-price books. So if a module had a price of $5 on it, they sold it for $2.50, and they didn't look up to see if it was worth anything. Right. I mean, there was no way to look it up. There was no internet really back then, so they just threw everything out on the shelf with a price on it. So I'd go in there and clean them out.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can. You're kind of coming in and out. Oh, you're back. All right. Yeah, you're back.
And I would clean these shelves out, and then I'd go on Marketplace and I would resell them. And so I was one of the first people ever that sell. So that also led to me collecting, because I'd run into all this. I go to Half Price Books a lot. I go, well, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to buy it. I have no clue what this game is. And so I was buying a lot of stuff that turned out in the future to be really rare things or one-of-a-kind items or unique items. So at the beginning of the hobby, I was a big collector. And there was not a lot of people that had more stuff than I did. That unless you lived in, like I said, in Wisconsin or that area, and you went to Gen Con every year, and you got to see all this stuff, and you got to meet the TSR people, you got stuff signed by them. I was doing this from Texas, and I would hit Half Price Books. I would hit military bases. Any town with a military base, there was always a game store, and that game store was always full of used game stuff, tons of it, because. If you know military people, they play RPGs, and they would leave, and they would just dump their collection at the game store before they left. They'd sell it all and then go off to wherever, to the Middle East or whatever. Yeah. And so at one point I was buying this stuff, reselling it, and I amassed a gigantic collection. And at a certain point, like I was saying, I had to have 3 copies of everything. Then it kind of hit me: do I really need 3 of everything? How about just a game copy and then a shrink wrap copy? And so I would go through and purge my collection. Then at a certain point years ago, I said, do I really need a shrink wrap copy? Because I'm not going to open this stuff. And so then it's kind of hit the peak. And at that point, then it started going down. And then at that time in the 90s is when eBay started, 1998. Yep. And a lot of people got into collecting then. And so I was surpassed by people who were really serious collectors at that point. I had already done all my collecting. I had everything I ever wanted. I had copies of anything you could imagine. And I was like, okay, I've done it all. I climbed to the top of the mountain. What now? Well, I started selling stuff because I don't really need all this stuff. And then you had this second wave of collectors that had a lot of money and were willing to pay high prices for stuff that maybe I had been able to find in, let's say, 1990 for $20. Now that item was, $500, but they had that much money. They're like, oh, I'll spend $500 on a jade hair or something that's really rare. And people like me were all too willing to I need to get rid of this stuff anyway. So yes, I would consider myself still a collector. I have a lot of unique items. One of the things that's been great about running the convention is I have a ton of signed items. Stuff signed by Elmore, Easley, Errol Otis, Alan Hammock, Frank Menser, Tim Cat. I mean, when these guys are coming to the con, I would get them to sign stuff. So nearly everything in my collection is signed. I decided at one point I was going to get a Deities and Demigods signed by every still living person, and I was going to get one for each of my grandkids to sell someday. So I had Deities and Demigods signed by Rob Koontz, Jim Ward, Janelle Jaquays, Jeff D., Darlene, whoever worked on that stuff. Mm-hmm. And so, Diesel, these guys, so I'd have these Deities and Demigods signed by like 15 people. And then unfortunately my daughter started popping out too many kids at that point, and so when it got to like 8 grandkids, I was like, whoa, everybody just needs Demogods. I was gonna put these aside in the safe deposit box, but you're having kids, and so I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna keep these now. These are Papa's now. They are not yours anymore. I'll get you guys something else. But no, I have all that stuff. I have a lot of manuscripts, but there's collectors out there. There's Uber collectors that dwarf what I do by such a percentage. So there's like the Uber collector up here. Then there's like kind of the higher level. Then there's the mid level and whatever. At this point, I'm probably at the mid level. I would say at one point I was at the higher level, not quite the Uber, but at this point I've sold enough, and I'm not as worried about limited editions or making sure I have shrink wrap everything, or tracking down hard to find stuff. I'm just not there anymore because, like I said, I've got everything I want, and all the stuff I have. We were just talking about Dolmenwood. I've got a shelf of stuff I'm never even going to read. I don't want to say that out loud because my wife might hear me, but I'm never going to read that stuff because it's all aspirational purchases. Like, man, Dolmenwood looks great, and it does, but am I ever going to use it? Probably not. Yeah. So I still have it, but I know I've been very privileged to know some of the top collectors, not just in our hobby, but in the world. And awesome. Guys like there's a guy in Hong Kong who owns nearly every piece of original TSR art. And he was a very intelligent guy that about 25 years ago started buying Easley paintings, Elmore, like original paintings. He started buying original artwork from these guys when it was reasonably priced. His name's Matthew Coder. And he has a vault in Hong Kong with all this artwork in it. I mean, just hundreds of, like every Dragon magazine cover. I think he's got the cover to the Dungeon Masters. I mean, all this stuff. He would buy it all. And the last few years, he started exhibiting it. He did an art exhibition at the Lucca convention in Italy 2 years ago. It was absolutely amazing. I mean, just imagine the coolest ever Dragon magazine covers, module covers, iconic D&D art. It was all set up in this giant Italian villa that you went to and looked at.
That's awesome.
I've heard he's buying a building in, I think it's Pennsylvania, and they're going to permanently house much of his collection there. So that's the kind of people that I consider. Those are the Uber collectors. Those are the people that will drop $15,000 on a piece of artwork and it's not a big deal. Whereas I wonder
if he's the guy that bought that bookshelf.
What now? I didn't hear you, Mike.
I had one of the original TSR bookshelves.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I had that in the auction. I had the auction at the auction at Page, and Jen had told me that the buyer was some big spender out of China.
It was Matthew Coder. Yeah,
huge collector, and
giant guy. I've seen pictures from his collection. He's got a bookshelf about that big, and all the bookshelf has on it are shrink wrap home sets. Wow. So 150 of them. I mean, he's got an amazing collection. And Bill, I've been to Bill Meinhardt's house, which is a privilege because he has one of nearly everything ever published in RPGs until about, I think, 2006. And after that, he kind of picks and chooses. But he's got original manuscripts. One part of his collection that's amazing is he has the brown boxes from everybody back then. He has Rob Kuntz's brown box, Tim Cass, Frank Mentzer's, Gary's. He has all the brown boxes that belong to the actual people who started the hobby. And he's and so like I said, these are the Uber collectors. They're a lot of people don't like people like that because they're like, well, they're hoarding the stuff. But these are the people that also preserve our hobby. They're the people, because I'm sorry to say, if Joe Blow has the brown box that Rob Kuntz used, he might not take care of it. He may throw it in a garage sale. He may throw it away. He may. I have so many stories over the years about people that go to estate sales and find these enormous collections because the person died. Their family didn't know what to do with it. They stuck it in an estate sale. There was a guy that came to North Texas several years ago. He had a friend whose job for the city was to clear out houses when people died, had no relatives, and there's just this house. And he walks in, and there's D&D floor to ceiling. And so he calls this friend of mine and says, you need to get over here with a pickup truck because I'm supposed to clean this place out and throw everything in a dumpster. And I'm looking, and this stuff does not, I don't know much about gaming, but I know this stuff does not need to be in a dumpster. And so the friend came over there, and luckily he and his wife were able to, Amanda, and I can't remember the guy's name, Amanda, and they come to North Texas every year, and he was able to get just some amazing historical stuff that would have been destroyed. And so uber collectors like that, or like John Peterson, the guy that wrote Playing with the World, they help the hobby by keeping this stuff safe for one day. And Alex Kamer, I can't not mention Alex Kamer. He has the Game Hole, which is an amazing. If you get to go to Wisconsin, Wisconsin, go to Game Hole, he has this over his tavern. There's a giant room. He has the original Forgotten Realms map, that Ed Greenwood freehand draw. I mean, he's got all this amazing stuff.
Wow.
They actually are preserving this. Someday there will be an RPG museum. Someday there will be a D&D museum. I don't know if I'm going to live that long to see it. I didn't think I'd live long enough to see an art museum, but it looks like Matthew Coder is doing that now, which is, I think, amazing, because that art, that's like cool. Indiana Jones says, it needs to be in a museum. It needs to be seen.
Yeah, it belongs in a museum.
Collectors do an important thing in our hobby. I know a lot of people get mad because they're always the one paying these huge prices for stuff, and they're making it so you and I can't own, say, an Orange B3. I sold an Orange B3 a few years ago for $15,000. I think it's worth twice that now. I mean, really.
Yeah.
I think
how many of those are there? I mean, there can't be that many.
There's about 200. There's probably about 200. There's more than they say there are. Frank Menser rescued most of them for the trash can, and he's been very cagey about how many he actually rescued. But I talked to people that worked at TSR at the time, and a lot of them saved their copies. They were supposed to. So the story about Orange B3 is B3 came out, orange cover, written by Gene Wells. A lot of the art was weird and objectionable. It was not a very well-written module. And so back then they would lay a copy on all the employees' desks, and you got a free copy. And so before the business opened that day, I think it was one of the Blooms told everybody to go collect everybody's copies and throw it in the dumpster, because we're going to get rid of this. And then they came out with it was re-edited and rewritten by Tom Moldvay, and that's the copy we know, B3 Palace.
The green cover,
it's the green cover. So all these were thrown in the dumpster. Well, a lot of the employees had already taken their copies. Some went and got theirs out of the trash. Guys like Frank Mincer went and grabbed a whole box, whatever. So there was probably about 200 of these saved. And it's considered one of the, I guess, it's the top 10 D&D collectibles, along with the brown box and a couple other things. The Orange B3, the weird art version, which, by the way, you can find online now. They've released the PDF. You can actually see it online, and the artwork is weird. It's very bizarre, very, very, very oddball, and it's not a well written module. Apologies to Gene Wells, the late Gene Wells. It's not very well written. But this became, legendary because it was a ban. It's something that was banned, and it wasn't banned. It was just tossed in the trash. And so the copies go for, thousands of dollars. Well, since I've been collecting, you could get a copy for maybe $500, maybe $1,000 back when I first started collecting. They run anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000 now.
Yeah.
Because just the money that's poured into collecting has been that much money. And the people who are collecting have more money to spend on hobbies like that now. There's something in comic books we call the 30-year rule. The 30-year rule is you collected everything. So when you were a kid, you bought like Fantastic Four. You love Fantastic Four. That's when you were 14, though. And then you forgot about Fantastic Four till you were like 40. Then when you're 40, you're like, man, I had the first issue where Dr. Doom appeared. I'd love to get that issue again. How much is it?
Yeah, and you've got
$12,000. I'm making $12,000 a month at my job. I'll spend that. So it's called the 30-year rule. 30 years after you collected something, Star Wars toys, baseball cards, whatever it is, you get back into the hobby. You have a lot more disposable income, and you go and you spend that in your hobby. And we're seeing that right now with D&D, because D&D came out in 1976, 70, the 70s. Well, those people now are in their 50s or 60s. They've got disposable income, and they don't think anything about dropping $10,000 on a D&D module. Which, by the way, at this point, I would never spend that much because I got this stuff for cheap. When it was cheap, I'm not spending that much money on a D&D module now. But there's people out there that will, because they've got that money. So,
sure.
Well, I got a question for you, though, along those same lines. What are your thoughts on this recent thing in the hobby with people grading adventure modules?
Okay, so let me hopefully you don't see my underwear here because I get up. So I have my Dragon Magazine 1 slab.
That's a
Dragon
little
1
different.
7.5. I don't mind it because I don't want to handle this. I don't want my grandkids pawing on it. I don't want I want this to be as pristine as it was the day it was put in there. This one's worth one of these 7.5 last year sold for $5,000 because it was already graded. So we didn't have to worry about somebody saying, I think the grade is this. No. This has been graded by professionals. I know what it's worth. If I drop dead tomorrow, my wife can throw this up on eBay. She doesn't have to know anything about it. She can just say it's 7.5 graded by CBCS. Have at it, guys. Here's the number. You can look it up online. You can look up what the grader said, and that's it. She doesn't have to do anything. So I got a lot of my most valuable stuff slab like that because I didn't want to have to put her through the misery of having some of the most valuable stuff graded, or even having to try to figure out what it is. A lot of it's all up on the wall, and also I think it looks cool. It's displayable. I don't have to worry about, I dropped it. Oh, look. Oh, no, it's all bent. No, nothing's going to happen to this. It's absolutely in perfect condition. Now, when I get everything graded, no. I've only gotten some like shrink wrap stuff that I'm never going to take out of the shrink wrap anyway. I have the R series and the RPGA series, which are really collectible. I have those shrinked because I have them slab. I'm not going to take them out of the shrink. So they're slab. If I want to look at them, I can pull them out. I can show people, look, here's R1. Oh, that's cool. I think it depends on what you collect for. If you collect just for fun and you have a lot of well-worn modules that you like to play and they're not worth a lot, there's no reason to slab anything. There's really not. Now, if you have a few shrink-wrapped items or you have a Dragon Magazine #1 or you've got some of the rare stuff, I'd say it's worth getting slabbed just so it stays in the same condition. But I don't think I think it's a case by case basis, Mike. I really do. I think some people that are absolutely against. Ron and I have had many discussions on this. Ron Meisker that runs Page, he is absolutely against slabbing, like 100%. He hates it, and I understand his objections. I understand that, why he doesn't like it, but that's just his philosophy. His philosophy is, hey, it's there to be played, this, that. My philosophy is there's plenty of copies out there to be played with. There's hundreds. I mean, these print runs were huge on these modules. There's tons of them out there, but the rare stuff, there's not. And so if something's rare, I'm not going to decide I want to play R1 to the 8 of Falks one day and just tear it open and start playing it because the module in shrink wrap is worth a couple $1,000.
So here's my only problem with it. So like I saw somebody slabbed in L2, right? No, there's plenty of L2s out there.
Sure, there's tons.
Go pick it up for $30-$35.
Right.
This thing it's not in great condition. It's got a little problems on it. It's a play copy, right? It is what it is.
Uh-huh.
But the more people that take their shrink copies or their really good copies and slab them are just going to drive the prices up on these copies too.
So here's my argument against that, Mike. Number one, the PDFs are readily available for anything TSR published, including rare stuff like the Jade Hair, Orange B3. I mean, there's PDF copies. So if you want to print up a nice POD copy, as a matter of fact, WotC sells POD copies.
Right.
Now, I have some because if I want to play T1, I don't want to use my copy. I have a copy that I had printed with their POD service a year ago. I have a whole stack of original TSR POD printings that I would use to run a game at the table. That way I don't have to take out my original copy and mark it up or whatever. So I would say that they're already readily available. I don't necessarily think it drives price up because I just think people don't realize some of the print runs. Some of these modules went through 7-8 printings. I mean, there is a lot of, like, let's say T1s out there. It may not seem like there is, but there is. There's a lot of B2. Oh God, B2 is the most printed module of all time. There's probably 50, 60, God knows how many thousands of B2s out there. So, I know a lot of people argue against it. They say, well, when you put a copy in slab, then nobody can play it. There's tons of copies out there, and I don't necessarily see it having an effect on prices unless, and this is true of any hobby, unless the condition is nice. The nicer the condition, the more. I mean, it's like anything else. Like I have let's see. Here's a there's a Fantastic Four 52 first appearance Black Panther. Okay, it's an 8.5. This is a $5,000 comic at least. There's not a lot of copies of this out there, and there just is in this nice condition. This is considered 8.5 is considered excellent plus. There's just age and people pawing through it and people storing it in bad places. If you have something that's legit in nice condition, I think it's worth it to get it slabbed just because I can display this. I can show people this. I'm not taking this out of the box. It's not this plastic slab. I am not showing you guys. I'm not holding it and I'm not messing with it. It's going in a vault somewhere. As a matter of fact, I did have my most valuable comics in a safe deposit box for years because I didn't want people messing with it. And so if you have something like that, yes, I can understand slabbing it. But like you said, an average copy of L2, even a shrink wrap copy of L2, no one cares about L2. I mean,
and that's what I was getting at, because
it's not important.
There is somebody, I don't remember who it is, and it doesn't matter, but there's somebody on RPG auctions or whatever that's going through and like they listed, I don't know, last month they listed like 20 different things slabbed, and only a couple of them even got bids on them because it's like people are
nobody cares. I've got the worst copy I have. It's way at the top of my reach. I have a B1. It's a 5.5, which is average condition, but I had Darlene sign the cover. So I just think it's cool. It's a very average condition module. I wouldn't have got it slabbed except Darlene signed the cover. As a matter of fact, if I find a better copy of the brown B1 and I get Darlene signed, I'll probably sell that and keep the better copy. I think it's like any other collectible. Look, you guys are old enough to know. Remember when baseball cards went crazy and people were just selling their house for a Ricky Henderson rookie card, and then comics went through this insane period when they were being overprinted because Death of Superman started this giant trend where death of everybody and every death comic was worth, within a month of coming out was worth $200, and it turned out they really weren't collectible because there was a lot of them printed.
Everybody bought that.
Yeah. Go through that.
DC specifically did that. I was working at a comic shop right after I retired from the military, and I'm working the floor one day, and we get a phone call, and this guy's like, "Hey, I want to bring in my comics collection and have it, have it graded and sell it to you guys." And I was like, "Cool, bring them in." But just so you know, the market sucks right now. It's really, unless you've got very specific issues. And he said, "Well, like, I've got Punisher versus Wolverine #1," and I was like, "Dude, everybody has Punisher versus #1."
Jason, I found the one thing people don't understand is print runs. Print runs are very important.
And he started talking about
the 90s
Death of Superman, and I was like, "Oh, okay, let me just slow you down. Death of Superman is worth about as much as a roll of toilet paper, because they printed out tens of thousands of copies of that comic because they knew that people are going to be like, "Oh my God, this is going to be worth something," and people snatched them up.
And there's so many.
Still to this day, I'll buy a comic book collection. So I say, "Hey, I've got a bunch of copies of the McFarlane Spider-Man 1 in there." I said, "Congratulations, you have the most printed comic of all time."
That's right.
They printed 1.5 million of those. It's not worth anything.
And that's why, bring it in by all means. You might have that. I can't even remember what it was, but I bought a couple of copies of a comics that I didn't even like, and I got lucky and it ended up being worth something. But even that was only worth $100 an issue. It's not, modern comics don't sell for tens of thousands of dollars. They do not sell for that. You have to go back to the 70s for that.
The best advice I ever had that I think I read some, I don't remember where, is collect what you personally enjoy. Don't collect just to make money. Get the stuff that you enjoy, because if it's not worth anything, it's fine. It's something that gives you pleasure and makes you happy. I've got a copy of I think this is the most badass cover of all time. I'm trying it. Here it is. I just got this because this is, to me, it's one of the most badass covers in comics of all time. I loved Luke Cage when I was a kid. This dude was a bad, like Shaft, a bad mother blank. So, I just personally collected it. I didn't think it was going to be worth any money someday, and it's not worth a lot even to this day. And 7.0 is pretty average condition. But I just, this is just something I personally enjoyed. I have a lot of #1s that I collected just because I got the first Guardians of the Galaxy. I got the cover. I got some tales. if I saw a nice cover, that's what I would collect because I just thought that looks really striking, and hopefully someday I can display it. Well, now that they're slabbed, I can display it. It's only like people think it's a lot of money to get stuff slabbed. It's like $30 to $50. It's not a ton of money, and you have the well-being in your mind of knowing that people aren't going to handle it and mess it up. It's not going to get a box stuck on it and break in half or whatever. And you can always take it out of the slab. You can crack the slab. It's not impossible. But just collect what you personally enjoy. And like you were saying, Jason, I worked at a comic book store too. I actually did a lot of my big comic book buying was the 90s because people were going nuts for like these new companies like Image and Valiant and all these companies.
Yeah.
And I was able to make some trades. Like I would trade Valiant comics for Silver Age Thor. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Wow.
People were just, whatever, because they didn't think about it. Because
But
I'm
those
thinking,
guys
I want
did make some
Silver
pretty
Age
good comics.
I want some Silver Age comics. I don't want, I don't care if I have the latest Image comic. I want Silver Age stuff. But that's what I personally enjoyed. I didn't like the Image stuff. I didn't necessarily like the Valiant stuff, but I used it to get to it was a means to an end. The end was to get Silver Age comics because that's what I really liked. I like Monster comics a lot. Monster comics are worth very little. I've got some. I do have the first Moon Knight because he was in Werewolf by Night, and I loved Werewolf by Night, so I bought the first Moon Knight because he had to be part of Werewolf by Night. I like Tomb of Dracula. I like anything monster. They're not worth a lot now. I mean, you look at some of the monster comics. I did much better off collecting superhero stuff that was actually worth something. But I personally enjoyed those comics, and that's what I tell anybody that collects. Don't go broke, but collect the stuff that you personally enjoy. Yeah. You'll never be dissatisfied. If it ends up being worth a lot, then that's a plus. If it ends up being worth nothing, it gives you pleasure to be on the shelf and look at it. And you're a winner either way if you do that. And I knew so many people during these runs of comics and cards that didn't care about baseball cards, and they got stuck with thousands of them. They didn't care about. I knew a guy ran a comic store. He eventually went bankrupt, and I remember going to the store when he had a sellout. He was selling he had cases, and I mean like a case of like Valiant comics, 10 cents a case. We're talking 100 comics.
Wow.
And nobody would buy them because the later Valiant comics weren't good. And he just bought them because he thought they'd be worth something someday. And he's stuck with all these crappy comics he's trying to dump. He'd have been much better off just collecting stuff that gave him pleasure, that was, gave him joy than stuff that he was just trying to roll over. And now and to this day, I don't know what he did with all that shit. I'm sure it solved the dumpster at the end of the bankruptcy proceeding. Sure, it got dumpstered out because you can't even sell that stuff to used bookstores, really. So, so we got. So, long story short, if you have something you personally enjoy and you think it'd be cool to display it, I would get something slab. If not, if you're just trying to make money off it, it's not a good deal. It's just not a money making venture. Like I said, if you can get a bunch of L2s slab, more power to you. You're not going to make a lot of money off of them. It's going to cost you $50 to get it slab, and you're going to sell them for $100, maybe $75. I don't know. It's just not a money. It's not worth the effort you're taking to do it. So
I made the decision years ago to collect for the sake of play. I don't collect just to collect. Mm-hmm. So all my game stuff here, obviously, we all have the same problem. We buy stuff with the intentions that we're going to use them, and we never do. But
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, you do.
We're nervously looking over our shoulders, like, that's it.
But I don't buy the stuff just for the sake of, I'm going to make money on it later.
Yeah,
I buy it, and I'm getting at the point now where, like, I told you the story in the beginning with my group and these guys not wanting to try new things and everything. So I'm getting to the point where I'm like, half the stuff's going to go, and I'm just going to whittle back down to my first edition and second edition collection because that's enough that I could play for the rest of my life. I don't need.
So Jim Kitchen and I, we're going to probably debut this at WizardCon. We're going to start doing a seminar at cons we both are at. And it's going to be called, I don't know the exact name, but it's going to be basically, where's the stuff going when I die? That's a terrible name.
Oh, yeah.
That's the name of it. But I've had a lot of friends pass away in the last few years. And they've left behind extensive collections that their relatives and wives and heirs had no clue what to do with. I mean, not a clue. and they're sitting on top of this giant collection of D&D stuff, and they're like, I don't know what to do with it all. Can you sell this for me? I'm like, I'm selling my own stuff. I don't have time to sell 15,000 items for somebody else. And it's become a real problem in our hobby because we're all reaching that age where you could just, literally drop dead every day. If you're me and you're unhealthy, any day. But you guys may be in better health than I am. I don't know. But yeah, you have to think about these things and think about where is this going once I'm not here, because it may happen suddenly. And I'm sorry, when we tell most people your illusions about what's going to happen to your collection are illusions. Your wife does not have time to deal with it. Your kids don't have time to deal with it. Nobody that has time to deal with it. They are going to dump it. They're going to sell it all, and they're not going to get the value of the collection. And like you were saying, Mike, it's time to start. I told my wife when I'm 60, I'm going to start winnowing my collection out, and somehow I made it to 60, and I was like, holy shit, I'm 60. I got to start selling this shit. And so for the last 3 years, I have been winnowing down my collection. Do I play Ravenloft? No, boom, gone. Spelljammer? No, boom, gone. Planescape? No, boom, gone. Dark Sun? Never played it, boom, gone. Whatever that I had that I didn't play a lot of, I've just been judiciously pruning it because I don't. It's like it's not whoever ends up with the most toys wins. Whoever has the most toys, you're going to die and somebody else is going to have your toys. It's not going to be, you can't take it with you. So get pleasure out of it now, but also realize the limitations. Like you said, start going through stuff and say, you know what? I have not opened this book in 5 years. I play 2E. It's a 3E book. I'm not going to use it or play it. Get it out the house. Like, who's the chick, Marie Kondo, that, you need to go through all your stuff. I mean,
she doesn't. Spoilers. She doesn't actually do that anymore. She's moved on in her life.
She
they
got
interviewed her, and she's like, no, I don't do that anymore. I was like,
but the idea of, does it personally give you pleasure, or do you actually use it? I understand that because I'm one of those people myself. I've got an attic full of boxes I don't go through that probably have 1,000 like pulp paperbacks in there. I love paperbacks, like detective paperbacks. They're not giving me any pleasure right now because they're in a box in the attic. I mean, so who am I helping out by just keeping them there? And and they're not worth a lot. Pulp paperbacks are not worth as much as you think they would be. I'm not, they're just taking up space at this point. They're just taking up space, and God knows I'll probably have a house fire in a week and they'll all be gone, and I'll go, oh shoot, that sucked. So yeah, the thing to do is collect what you personally love. Make sure you have an exit plan. Make sure that if something happens to you, that somebody that's going to deal with it, or you have so many people don't have an index or a catalog of what they have. That helps sell your collection so much. If you can hand your index to somebody, I don't have one. If you can hand it to somebody and say, here's what I have, would help your widow or your kids so much, because somebody I can look at that and say, okay, here's how much it's worth, and this are worth a lot. I can look at it I had a guy a couple years ago that said, I'd like to sell my collection. I knew him. He had this giant collection. This is awesome. Do you have a list of what you have? No, but it's all my storage shed. What am I supposed to do? I mean, go over there and look through every box you have. Like, well, yeah. I'm like, I ain't doing it. You're going to have to write them all down and get a list and to show people.
Well, here's the thing though. You talk about collecting what you enjoy, like this wall over here and the wall over there in the garage. I've got arcade machines, full size arcade machines, because I collect them, I restore them. Mm-hmm. I haven't done much with them in the last 5-6 years, but it's been my hobby forever. So I've got my gaming stuff, I've got my arcade stuff. I've got a few different hobbies. Mm-hmm. Well, that's one of those. It's one of those things where, like, I've already talked to my wife. I'm like, if, something happens to me, the people that are in the hobby with me, because I run a Facebook group for New York State. I've run it for 15 years now, and there's a bunch of people on there, and she knows those people. I'm like, if something happens to me, get a hold of Tim, because Tim will help you get all that stuff sold. You know, I
See,
told her,
see, Mike, you've gone one step beyond what most people go beyond, because they'll tell me, I've told my wife what's worth a lot. That doesn't help your wife.
no, it
Your
doesn't.
wife, first of all, she's
She-
not going to remember what you told her,
Right.
unless you say this box right here. But even then, what is she going to do with that?
Right.
You've already gone one step beyond, because you said, here's who you need to talk to when something happens to me, because you're not going to be able to deal with it. That's actually smart, and you'd be surprised when people have not even gone to that step. They've just said, oh yeah, my kids know it's worth a lot of money. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything.
But I do know from collecting the arcade stuff, like going back to what you just said about he's got his books in a storage unit. What are you going to do with that? Well, like when people tell me they got a game, I'll go, you know, I'll find it on Craigslist or Marketplace or wherever, and I'll go and they're like, well, I don't know if it works. I don't even want you to plug it in. I don't care if it works because I'm going to offer you something for it. If you plug it in and it doesn't work, the price is going to go down. If you plug it in and it does work, then the price probably ends up going up.
There you go.
So I'm just like, you know, if they've got it in a storage unit, I'm just going to be like, you know, we're going to take a glance at it and see, oh, if it's all D&D stuff, second edition, first edition, I'm just going to offer you a price for it. And if you don't like that price, then come up with an index of a list of everything, and then we'll go from there. But if you're just going to tell me you got boxes in a storage unit, we're going to make you an offer, and that's it. We're going to walk away.
Absolutely. And it's going to be here's what I think, because your offer is going to include the time it's going to take you to have to go through their price, everything. I tell people that. I say, look, you know, and you know, I used to work at a comic book store too. We would tell people coming with 16 long boxes. Well, how much? And we wouldn't even look at the boxes. We're like, oh, we'll give you $50. Well, you didn't even look through them. Right. Well, to look through it, your offer may go up or it may go down. If it's a bunch of image, whatever, it's going to go down because we don't care about that. Now, if it's all Silver Age stuff, it may go up. Are you sure of what you have? Is there enough valuable stuff in there that is, you know, worth me going through there? Because you're taking up my time now, and because of that, you know, I'm going to include my time as value. My time is valuable. It's going in there and looking at your collection and find out what's valuable, what's not. Basically you're pricing their collection for them. Now, I'm going to go through the collection, then I'm going to tell you it's worth this much, and then I'm going to offer you that much. You're going to say, well, no, you just told me it's worth this much. I said, so you have to understand, if I go through your collection, I may adjust it, like you said, up or down. It's going to depend on what's in there. Most people, you know, as we found out, would overvalue their collection. They overvalue condition, they overvalue rarity, they overvalue a lot of things. And they're often very sadly mistaken on the value.
Well, Roger doesn't. If you buy from Roger, you know it's going to be in mint condition because he just buys it and throws it on the shelf.
Well, there you go.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
Listen, Dave asked a question a few minutes ago. I just wanted to get to it. I have not read the Thundar comic yet. I know there's like a second issue that's come out already that I got to pick up, but no, I haven't started reading it. I don't know if you're into Thundar, Mike. They restarted.
I saw that, but I'm not. I don't buy a lot of
yet.
comics anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't either, but I saw that. I'm a big Thundar fan. So,
by the way, I started selling off my comic collection. I have about 60 long boxes, and that's another thing that hit my to-do list. And so I've been selling a lot of comics in the last years. Probably more comics than games, to be honest with you. And because comics are actually doing very well right now. If you have a comic collection and you thought about getting rid of it, it's actually a good time to sell comics. They're doing very well. So yeah, I've been divesting myself. And by the way, what Dan says about Jim Kitchen, that's true.
Definitely a slacker.
You're either acquiring or you're disseminating. That's your two areas. You're either collecting stuff or you're getting rid of stuff. And right now, my phase has moved over to getting rid of stuff and not collecting anymore. I don't want to leave my wife more of an issue that she already has, that she's already going to have. But I've also given her here's the names of 5 people, or you know, and she knows the people that she needs to talk to. And I'm very luckily I'm friends with a lot of people that run auctions at conventions, and so I'm hoping that's something else. If something happens to me, we'll just be able to auction off. And she knows I sell stuff with heritage auctions, which are actually based, oddly enough, like 10 miles away from me.
Nice.
I've sold stuff on, of course, I do eBay, and so I have a lot of different areas this goes out. I have a comic book shop that I sell my comics to, and they actually do consignment for me also. So I'm trying to prepare for the inevitable, but just understand you can't take it with you, man. And so many people, they don't want to face the reality of mortality, and I understand that. I mean, I don't want to think about it either, but you need to think about the burden you're putting on your children or your those left behind. If you pass away, you leave this, box of 60 long boxes of comics, or 75 or whole, like whatever sitting there behind Roger right now. I mean, all the stuff behind Roger. If you leave that behind, I've seen too many people that I've known the past years pass away, and their relatives don't get the value of the collection because they just want it gone.
Yeah.
They want it. They want to deal with it. They don't want to take it. It's a full-time job to sell, man. It is an absolute full-time job to buy, sell, and trade this stuff, and they just don't have the time.
Definitely
they have their
like,
own lives.
I've started a list, and I mean, I got to finish. The wife knows, like, again, I know you said, like, don't say this, but like the wife knows what's valuable, but no, I started like trying to make a list of, what it is. So
no, the reason I just make fun of that, Roger, is because so many people, when I say, "Are you ready for this inevitable?" Oh yeah, my wife knows it's worth something.
Yeah, the wife
and
knows,
I'm telling you, dude, I've known 7 people that have passed away in the last few years. All their wives knew it was worth something, and all of them just wanted it out of the house.
Yeah.
They don't care that it's worth anything. For them, it's just something. It's a mess. Get it out of here. So them knowing it's worth something and then being able to deal with that fact are two different things.
Yeah, I have a list of like some of the more valuable stuff and like what it is and condition, and because some of that stuff is hard to, well, for a non-collector or whatever, to look at and say, like I bought a white box last year, and so it's like somebody, like a collector, can look at it and say, okay, this is a 5th printing, but like no, like my wife isn't going to know, or that's going to be a more complicated to try and look that up,
Right.
But yeah, so I've got stuff like that written down, but I do have to keep a better log of like everything. Sometimes it's hard because so much stuff comes in.
Right. Oh yeah, exactly.
So I haven't actually taken the step of I haven't given my wife a name of somebody to contact if she needed to sell my tabletop gaming stuff. And part of the reason is because
I'll give her my phone number.
No, part of the reason, part of the reason is because the hobby is very much like the arcade hobby. Like the guy, Tim, that I told her, Tim's a good friend of mine. I know I've dealt with Tim many times over the years. Tim's a straight shooter. He's not going to screw somebody. There are people in this hobby that if she called them, they would give her pennies for that collection just to make what they can.
Yeah.
And that's not the goal here. If I'm going to leave this stuff behind and she's going to sell it to, take care of herself or the kids or whatever, then she needs to get some money for it, not just pennies on the dollar because somebody's a cheap ass that,
But that's what we try to tell people, that the predatory aspect is part of the hobby, and you have to be. That's why. Would you rather deal with this, or would you rather have your wife deal with it who doesn't know, or would you rather deal with this now? Now, and I'll tell you something. So I've been in pretty much get rid of sell mode since I'm 63. I just turned 63 since I'm 60, and I'll tell you something, guys. I'm happier. I'm actually excited to, number one, see stuff go into somebody's collection that is actually genuinely happy to get it, because they're like, man, I never thought I'd get the orange B3. Went to a guy, he was so happy to get it, and he's going to treasure it, and he told me, I'm never selling this. He sells some down here, but it was great to see it go into a collection of an actual somebody who appreciated it. You're going to have more room for stuff. You're going to realize a lot of stuff you have, you don't look at, you don't care about, and you don't even realize it's gone for a year later. You have no clue that it even ever passed your hands, because it's gone, and you never looked at it anyway. You're going to get down to your core stuff that you love, that you believe in, that you look at all the time, and that's all you're ever going to really need anyways, your core kick-ass stuff. And look, if you want it all, I'm going to tell you a secret that maybe not everybody knows. It's all available on the internet. It is. Google whatever you want to Google, and usually a PDF pops up. The first result, Dragon Magazine number 52, PDF pops up. Oh, illegal PDF. Hello. And so it's all available.
That's part of the reason why I'm like, I have some Dragon magazines and stuff, like nobody would want them because they're all, I mean, they're in really rough shape, so they're really not worth anything. But I mean, I should sell them as a lot or something, because like I have them digitally, and they're a lot easier to search. They're a lot easier, like I'm not going to go digging through that pile, to find, oh, there was this adventure module that was really cool. That's in Dragon, 108. And then it's like, you're trying to
I can I can find that in 60 seconds, Roger. Seriously,
Yeah,
that's what I
I
tell
know.
people. It's like, well, but this module, like, dude, give me 60 seconds, and if I can't find it, I'll buy you a brand new copy. And I get on Google, go,
Yeah.
So
and,
listen,
there it is, PDF. You have your module.
Yeah.
listen, you got a lot of people that really hate on print on demand stuff, right? You brought it up
Sure.
earlier. I've got a lot
Sure.
of print on demand stuff. I like
Sure.
it. It allows you to take things that you
Yeah.
might be able to take an adventure that people are asking $60, $100 for, and pick it up for $15 or $20 on drive-through. And if it's just for play, who cares? Who cares?
Yeah.
The only ones that I've
get
got.
bit out of shape. Yeah.
So
There's
I've
people get bit out
tried.
of shape about it, but yeah.
I've tried to go out of my way to get things that had maps in them. Like if I'm buying
Mhm.
something that has a fold-out map, I'll try and get an original so I can get the map.
Right.
But I bought myself a comb binder last
Yeah.
year.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That's good for
100
by the way, that's great for table play because you can fold it over and lay it on the table.
Yep.
It's
I
always great.
have
Oh, yeah.
have so much stuff here. I can't even tell you how much. There's so much stuff that's comb bound, and you can get these PDFs whether you find them on the internet or you buy them off a drive-through. They're available, and I will tell you, I know there's a lot of people that don't want to buy anything, but some of the old PDFs that are freely available are shitty copies.
They
Yeah.
are.
You know?
And
So
that's
if-
so
Early scans are pretty bad.
the
Yeah.
argument
So-
about POD is that people get mad because they say, well, people try to pass off as original. I say, dude, if you are over the age of 10 years old, you are not going to mistake this stuff
Yeah.
for original stuff.
Right.
It's a lot of the PDFs, like you said, are bad. They're all not saddles. Yeah, they're all saddle stitch, not staple. I mean, there is so many tells that you can tell this is a copy and not the original.
Right.
That you should
You were-
have no
You were
problem.
talking about the orange B3. B3 is my favorite module. It was the first one I ever played in D&D. And somebody said, "Oh, do you have the orange copy?" No, I've got the green copy, but it's signed by Arrow Lotus, so that's awesome.
Very cool.
But
Yes.
I told my wife that I was looking for an orange copy because I think it would be cool to have. I didn't know that they were $15,000.
Yeah.
I would never pay
I've-
that much for something.
I've seen them for 12. I've seen them out there for
The
12.
copy I sold
So-
was shrink. It was still shrink wrap. So
But
that is one
Stephanie
thing.
starts looking and she's like, "Oh, here's one on eBay for $200." I looked, I went, "Fake." Just
It's a POD copy.
a mile away. You could.
There was a
tell
minor
that's not
scandal
it.
in collecting circles about, oh gosh, a month ago. So there's a module called ST1. Oh God, I'm just blanking out on the name. My God, my collector. I need to ST1. Oh God, what's it called? Up the Garden Path.
Up the
It was
garden
given
path, yeah.
away at a garden show in England in the late 80s. It's one of the rarest modules of all time. It usually runs about, I don't know, $10,000, $15,000. Somebody put a copy up on eBay and it says copy. And it's very obviously a print on demand that they made themselves. And they sold it for an exorbitant amount of money. And I don't understand. I'm like, okay, you could kind of do that yourself, you know. You could find a PDF, you can make a POD, you can have it printed at a printer, you know, or you know, have a friend print it out. It'll look nice. You don't have to pay that much for a copy, but it's very obviously a copy. And I just think it's hilarious that somebody spent an exorbitant amount of money on something that's not an original copy of ST1 Up the Garden Path. But yeah, the POD, I mean, print on demand is your frame when it comes if you just want to own something just to flip through it or run it at the
Sure, to
table.
run it. Yeah, absolutely. Even if you
yeah,
have
you know,
a real copy,
whatever.
yeah.
The other option too, you know, a lot of people just look strictly to drive-through, but there are people out there that have gone out of their way. I know you don't like Dark Sun, but just to give you an idea, this is one of like 7 books I had printed. It's huge.
Oh, nice. It's got all
They,
everything in there.
they took all the 2E stuff, and this one is just the campaign guide. There's an options book. There's Monster I've got the whole
Yeah, they
Monster
put it
manual
all
with
in
all
the
of it.
thing.
And this
awesome.
includes stuff out of like the Dragon magazines and all that stuff. I mean, and we're talking very good quality prints.
Mm-hmm.
This is done from Lulu. I mean, I ordered all 7.
And by the way, Mike, it's highly illegal, but that's okay. Don't worry. You're not
but-
hurting anybody. Don't worry.
Right,
about
I'm not selling it. It's
No,
for
you're
my
not
own
hurting.
use.
And if you own the original stuff, I consider that if you own the originals
Yeah,
anyway, it's no. I don't have a problem. with
I've
that.
got all my box sets sitting up there.
People freak out about that. I'm like, you know what? Calm down.
Yeah, well, so long as, like you said,
WotC's not making any money off Dark Sun right now anyway. They're not
Right.
reselling stuff. That they want nothing to do with Dark Sun right now because it has slavery in it and cannibalism. So so they're not doing anything with it. I don't have a problem with it at all. But but
so long as you're not printing the stuff out and then
you're reselling
multiple copies and all that.
Yeah, if you go to a convention, you got 15 copies behind you, they're probably going to shut you down because at that point you're breaking the law. But people have an argument as POD because the arguments are always so weird. One of them is, well, it makes my original stuff less valuable. Not any more than a reprint of Amazing Fantasy 15 makes an original copy amazing. No, it doesn't. It does not make it less valuable to have a copy of something out there when there's original. You know, people that collect want the original brown box. They don't
They don't care about if there's 10,000, 20,000 copies.
No, that's a dumb argument. I hate that argument. They get mad because sometimes people sell that as an original. Now, while that is extremely unethical, and I think that's bad business practices, buyer beware. I mean, you have to be aware of what you're buying. Some people, they get mad because they buy, say, a copy of Mono T1 online. They get it and it's a POD, and they're like, well, the guy never mentioned POD. Well, there's tells, and you need to be careful about what you're buying.
So let me ask you a question, though. You say it's illegal, right? So if I go and buy this PDF off a drive-through, and then I print it myself, like I did here, and I bind it myself, is there anything illegal about that?
No, because WotC sold you that. What you were showing me earlier, you said it had articles from Dragon Magazine. Magazine.
Okay, so I get that part.
Yeah, TSR got in trouble for doing that. They themselves got in trouble for printing out Dragon Magazine articles. It turned out there was rights involved. They didn't pay attention to.
So what I guess what I'm asking though is if you took the same PDF and you put the cover together and everything, and you sent it to Lulu to print a perfect bound copy for yourself. What's the legality on that?
Man, Mike, I wouldn't worry about. I don't worry about that kind of stuff at all.
I don't either.
No, that's fine.
People don't worry about that
because that's fair use.
They're whining crybabies. Yeah, there's people that are more worried about something that you use.
So
they're worried about what you're doing when they need to worry about their own lives. Like, I can't believe that you printed out a copy to use at the table. Why would you care? Just
the funny part.
Get out of here. You're weird.
The funny part is like these books here. Like I went through and I made every single one for second edition. These weren't in paperback books. These were
they were those. Yeah, they were the sheets. They were terrible.
Right. So I made books out of every single supplement.
That's a great idea. Actually, that's awesome because the sheets were awful because they tore and you couldn't fit them all in a binder. And no, that's actually a good idea to do it that way. I like that. I like that idea. But yeah, people have a lot of most of their objections against POD are usually along lines of moral and ethical objections. And like I said, and these are people also. I think it's funny. I always tell them, you're simping for $1 billion corporation, right? Because you really are. I mean, this is a company that doesn't care if you live or die. And actually, in the last few years, WotC doesn't even care about you at all. They're doing whatever they're doing with their product.
Did you see their survey that they put out yesterday or whatever?
I saw that, but I didn't see the results. Were the results hilarious?
I don't think they're gonna publish the results of that one because I can tell you now when I looked on Twitter, oh my God, the amount of people that responded and they all respond. It was a very fast one.
People are very happy with how WotC's treating their.
This one maybe had 10 questions total. You could answer it in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I saw that and I thought that was a disaster waiting to happen.
I filled out and answered it, and I can tell you, I don't think they're going to publish those results because it's not going to go the way they're hoping.
Yeah, well, I think they suspect the way it's going to go, but they want to reassure themselves. I mean, we didn't really get into very much, but Dan Ayub, the guy who's now in charge, I think he wants to at least try to bring D&D back to somewhat it was maybe 20 years ago. And so I think he has the right idea in terms of they got rid of people in their company that really weren't helping their company. And I think he wants to bring it back to like, look, why are we telling all these old guys to F off? I mean, that's the backbone of our hobby, and they spend a lot of money. Well, let's bring them in. Let's try to bring them in. And that was what I liked about 5e when it first came out, is they weren't like, oh, 5e, get out of here, old guy. They were like, hey, maybe you want to play 5e. It's kind of like, it's not as different as 3e was or 4e. It's very, it's kind of like D&D was. And in the last 5 years, it's been no, F off. We don't want you. We don't want you.
Well,
we don't care about you. Get out of here.
And it feels like when 5e came out, like I've told these guys that I loved the basic, like the Lost Mines of Phandelver. If you took the basic rules from that, it was like a perfect game. Later, they started adding with the subclasses and everything. And then every consecutive book after that,
just
it was
more
and more and more and more till it was like, I don't even enjoy this game anymore. I mean, I've got 2 shelves worth of 5e stuff, probably 30 books up there, plus a bunch of third-party stuff. It was fun for a short while, but after a few years of it, I had just had enough and moved on. I understand what you're saying. I think they do want to do better. I mean, if you look at that survey was all about, do you trust WotC? Do you think they have your interests, whatever? Do you think they're going in the right direction? And it's no, right down the line. And I think that's what a lot of people are going to say.
Yeah.
I don't think a new edition of D&D is going to bring the older people back into the fold.
I think people are, though. Here's the whole thing. It's the Starbucks effect, right? I don't play D&D 5e, but it brings more people into the hobby, and those people a lot of times start playing the older games. I've seen it with my own eyes, and they start playing OSR type games. They start playing Shadow Dark. So I think it helps to have a healthy front runner. Yeah. But I think the last few years, that front runner wasn't healthy for the hobby because they were basically telling their own customers, get lost, we don't want you. They were making a lot of changes to the game that no one wanted, that used to play. They were catering to a very small minority of fans. They're like, I would like a cozier D&D where you play baristas and you're a school kind of like Harry Potter. Nobody. 10% of the people that played D&D wanted that. That was not a majority type decision. That was something that they wanted.
I would really like to know how successful.
It was extremely successul, Mike. I know people that it did very well. The reprint books did very well.
I don't understand. I understand splitting the hobby between multiple games isn't the brightest idea. But you've split that hobby. I mean, there are gamers that have left and they're not coming back.
Look at it this way: if those people aren't already buying your product, isn't it better to sell them something rather than nothing?
Yeah, right.
So you're not taking money away. So if you reprint, let's say the first edition books, you're not affecting your bottom line negatively because they're already not buying your 5e books.
Yeah.
They're never going to buy your 5e books. They don't want your 5e books. They have nothing to do with WotC. But that is a product that I bought. I also bought the Dungeons of Dread and the A1 through 4 book, and then the S1 through 4 book. I bought those also because I wanted to support what I thought was them supporting older D&D. And that's something, but I don't spend any money on WotC. Yeah, I don't spend any money on WotC except for stuff like that.
These two, unfortunately, were
there you go
because I missed them initially.
Yeah,
I'll
buy those, and I'm not buying anything 5e puts out. So all they're doing is helping their bottom line. They're not hurting their bottom line, and I'll never understand. They're not the only company that does this, but then when the new version of whatever comes out, they immediately start reviling the old version and dissing their customers and saying you're terrible if you want this. I don't understand that philosophy. I know there has to be a philosophy behind that they teach in business school somewhere. I don't get it because you can sell 2 different things to 2 different people.
Right.
I mean, the Coca-Cola brand isn't just Coca-Cola. It's 5 different. I mean, the Dr. Pepper brand is Dr. Pepper, Pepsi, I mean, they don't just sell one cola and say, well, we're not going to sell Dr. Pepper anymore because we sell Pepsi and we don't want people drinking Dr. Pepper. No, they say, look, if you want Dr. Pepper, buy Dr. Pepper. You want Pepsi, buy Pepsi. It's not going to hurt us. So I don't get the fact that they just try to oh man, the old versions suck, and you suck if you want to buy them, and if you used to play them, you suck. And by the way, the people that wrote those versions, they suck too because they were bad people. I mean, what does that do? I mean, how does that help your hobby at all?
What kills me about it is the originals of those reprints the 2E ones are more valuable than the 1E ones. I don't know if they sold less of them and that's why or what, but
Probably,
those
yeah.
books are going for a premium now. If you try and find one of the hardcover of those reprints, they're just super expensive. And it feels to me like there's a market there for all the players that you lost, the guys that are still playing old D&D.
Absolutely, yeah.
That would easily buy those books in a good quality, not a POD, but a good quality print, because there's no doubt there's a difference in the quality.
They won't do it,
Sure.
Mike. It's not just because there's a lot of reasons. I mean, some of them are political. I'm saying political in the terms of gaming, not politics.
No,
But a lot of it is, if you give too much credit to those who came before, you're denigrating my work now, which is not true. It shouldn't be true. But they've done a lot of work over the last few years telling us the original creators of D&D weren't good people and didn't put out
Sure.
good product. And so they've already poisoned the well. They're trying to,
Yes.
and they're
Now they
doing
can't
that to
go
try to
back.
burnish their own product, which is a terrible business decision. And I will say this for Dan Ayub, he hasn't done that. And it seemed like he came in, they got rid of some of the more egregious people that work for WotC that were doing that kind of thing. And these are people that have left. You can probably guess the names. People have left in the last few years that were fired. Well, they weren't really fired, but they were fired. They were told to get lost, or we're going to fire you. And they're the people that were saying, no. This is all terrible stuff. You need to buy the new stuff. I have a little faith in Daniel, not a ton, but I think he's approaching it, from what I understand, people that know him and have talked to him, he's approaching it from the right point of view. Is that no, we don't want to denigrate these people that created the hobby. We don't want to denigrate people that played the old versions of the game, but we want them to buy our new stuff. But we're not going to do that at the expense of telling them they're worthless human beings.
I don't know. I don't know that they have anybody in design positions anymore, though, that have any experience with old school stuff.
That's the problem. That is,
I mean, at least with guys like with Merles there and Perkins there, they at least have some old school cred. They've been around a long time writing.
I'll tell you something though. Those are the people I'm looking at. No, actually, I like Merles a lot, but Perkins and what's his name,
Crawford.
They're terrible for the hobby. They were terrible for the brand. They were the ones pushing a really terrible agenda there, which is the new stuff's good, bad stuff, old stuff's bad, old people are bad. And I know that they do, like Perkins especially had a long career in the hobby, but he was one of the worst people to push that view. And so the other guy, I can't remember his name, the guy, they both left at the same time. He and Perkins both left at the same time. And they were some of the worst people. And I know a lot of inside info on that. And they were the ones pushing these are, our version, what we're doing now is more important than anything that's ever been done for D&D. Screw the things that happened 34 years ago. So and Mike Merles has an old school background. I've talked to him at conventions before. I mean, I think that he had his heart in the right place in a lot of things, but he got in a power struggle with the other guys and they won. And so that's why he got booted. But he was more old school, sensible in a lot of ways than a lot of the guys that stayed behind. And once he left, he was probably the last person there that was actually pushing any kind of old school sensibilities. Once Mike Merles got booted, then they're like, okay, cool, we're going to burn this to the ground. That's pretty much what they did. We're going to tell the OSR people to stop publishing their stuff. We're going to, this and that. I mean, that's when all the really bad stuff started happening.
Well, I mean, that was it for me. I mean, I'd always said like a classic, like if they released like a classic version of D&D, cleaned up version of like first edition or whatever, like that it would do well. But like once slowly they move toward,
there is a
Badmouth and everybody and everything.
Second edition.
And as soon as the OGL thing happened, like that was like, for me, that was like the final straw of like, okay, I'm not going back.
It's good.
So, like,
it's
like
good.
They would have to do so much.
No, it's good that it happened because it was the curtain pulled aside. It was like, here's who we really are. We really don't care about you, and we don't care about you playing D&D. We want you to buy our product now, and we don't give a damn. I mean, that was a very good moment for the hobby because for those that don't remember, a few months after that happened, Shadow Dark, the Kickstarter came out, and she got $1.8 million, and that was a total sand kick in the face to watch.
Yeah,
that was people saying, nope, sorry, we like the OSR, we like old school gaming. You guys can go jump off a bridge because we're going to support Kelsey and her game right here.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
still have to wonder how much of the blame, though, can be placed on the individual developers or WotC itself versus Hasbro. Because you got to remember, I mean, what company out there, look at Blizzard and Activision, and look at all these game companies that have been bought out by mega corporations. They all change.
But Mike, so Hasbro, so you got to understand what a small part of the business D&D actually is in terms of money. Now, in terms of money, Magic is gigantic. Pokemon's gigantic. I mean, their board game division is gigantic. D&D, although it generates X amount of money, is a very tiny part. All the Hasbro execs care about is the bottom line. They look in there and how much did D&D make last year? 15 billion. Oh, it made 16 this year. Awesome. That's all they care about. That they don't know anything about the game. They just know it's a line on a stat page. And so, as long as it's still coming out and they have the IP, I think they really, really wanted the movie to do a lot better. I mean, it would have been nice if the movie did a lot better. I thought the movie was fine. I get in arguments about old schools all the time about the movie. I thought it was fine. I think
I enjoyed it.
With it. But I think that they wanted to do a lot better because that could have justified a lot more money being thrown back into the business. But the developers, I would say the last few years, they have a lot of people that don't know what they're doing. The writers aren't that great. The developers aren't that great. They're putting out products that nobody cares about. I know there's a lot of Spelljammer fans out there. Do we need a Spelljammer box set that sucked? That absolutely, it really did. I mean, just absolutely sucked. It was awful. I mean, did we need that? No, we didn't need that. Do we need a book about D&D baristas, selling coffee? No.
Yeah.
Do we need a book that's trying to be Harry Potter? I mean, just on and on and on. Bad decision, bad decision, bad decision. That's not just developers. That's people okaying those bad decisions. And that was Perkins and Crawford saying, okay, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do a book about Harry Potter school when nobody.
Well, that's because they had they did the magic set, Strixhaven magic set, and then they basically had all the art and everything there, and all the flavor text and all that. So all they had to do was, just compile it all into a book. So it was relatively cheap for them to produce. Thinking, oh, hey, we could bridge these two worlds and it'll be fantastic.
Even Hasbro's trying their hardest though to drive Magic the Gathering into the ground. I mean, seriously,
they are milking that cow. That cow is so skinny; it barely has any milk left.
Yeah, but you know what though, Mike? You know what though, guys? They keep coming out with sets, and they more and more every year, and people are pissed about it. But
they still
buy them. Still
buying the stuff, and eventually they'll stop.
And
right now, why wouldn't you come out with 8 sets a year? Because people are going to keep buying.
There's a point when it'll be oversaturation, but we have not hit that point yet. Right?
That's right.
We have not hit it yet.
I think we have. You talked about comics earlier and how they got to the point where they were just like printing so many copies of it, and people were still buying them, thinking they were going to be worth something. That's what's happened to Magic now.
Absolutely, yes.
These sets now aren't worth anything.
But nobody knows. Not enough.
Eventually, we'll hit the crest. Eventually, we'll hit where people say no more. But we're still up here. We're still up here.
Listen, I've been out of Magic since like '95. I was in the very beginning, from beta here in Syracuse, and I had a huge collection. I made a shit ton of money. I made like $7,000 on it back in '95. Now, if I had that same collection today,
you should have kept it.
I would have bought a couple houses with it. That's neither here nor there. I can't do anything about it. That was long in the past. But you don't have cards like that anymore. They're not worth anything.
Right.
People are buying them, hoping they will.
Print runs alone and that and rarity and all that stuff now that people don't get and they don't understand. They keep buying that stuff up, not understanding that what you're buying now is never going to be as valuable as anything you bought in 1995. It's just simple economics. It's just not going to, and they don't understand. And as long as people keep buying it, they're going to keep pumping them out, man. And eventually it will reach oversaturation, but it hasn't come close yet. That's what happened with comics. The comics, they had the crash in the mid-90s because there was so many titles out, people couldn't keep up with it. There was like 16 Ghost Rider comics. Just crazy stuff because they're like, let's just keep putting more and more stuff out, and then we'll put out special covers and we'll do this. And people just kept buying it until a certain point people said, no, I don't want a Prism cover of of Ghost Rider 55, or
Yeah.
they just after a while they finally came to that point. And I don't know, I'm not as much into the card collecting hobby as other hobbies. I don't know when that saturation point is for Magic or any card game. I don't know.
I do
Yeah.
think they're reaching
get
it. I
there.
know their numbers have been looking pretty
We're
bad
getting there,
lately.
yeah.
Their sets are really, they went with this whole universes
Beyond.
it's called,
Universes Beyond. Yeah.
and they're adding every license you could imagine.
Yep.
And they're adding all these Marvel ones, and like Spider-Man, they were like, "Oh, Spider-Man's going to be huge," and
Well, it's all the stuff Hasbro already has access to
Yeah.
right.
because they
And-
made
Yeah,
they already have the
board
license.
games
And they're just
and all
losing
that
money
stuff.
on it. I mean, there's
They're milking
places
all that
selling
stuff.
them under
Mhm.
MSRP now for cases of them because they can't sell them.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
As long
crazy.
as kids have disposable money or they have their parents' money, they're gonna go buy Magic cards until something
But-
new comes on. Maybe something cooler come along and people jump
Yeah,
over to that. Or
And Mike, the people that you're seeing that are buying it, right, and they're buying it at less than MSRP, those cases and everything that those companies bought, they already bought them from a distributor that got them from.
Yeah.
So Watsy already made their money on that
Right, right.
product. So
Right.
then they got what they wanted for it, right? So like, because all the stores pre-order
Yeah.
boxes for every set because people want them still. So
Well,
like
that-
that
that's
doesn't
where they're
matter
gonna-
to them that the boxes are worthless. At least,
I
yeah,
will say-
They got their money.
hasn't caught on.
But
Yeah.
Watsy's done a really great job over the last few decades of marketing their product. I will say that's because they have tournaments. Every store I know, most game stores I know survive because of Magic card tournaments. I mean, that gets people into the store, and when they're in there, they buy comics, they buy games, whatever. So they've done a great job of making Magic an integral part of the game store experience. I mean, every time I walk in my local comic game store, there's some guys playing Magic cards in the corner. I mean, it's ubiquitous now. So that's
yeah.
what they really succeed at, is making that. And now you have kids that their parents played, and the parents like, oh yeah, I remember Magic, that was awesome. And so you've created a whole generational thing. They've done a really good job with that. The marketing has been excellent over the last 20 years.
Dan's got the Watsy digital gaming is 1.5 billion net revenue from total of 4 billion according to 2024 annual report. Of that 1.5, a billion of that is tabletop gaming, and 500,000 is digital and licensed gaming. Yeah,
Right, but like you just
Wow.
said in the next post, that's
Yeah.
not differentiating between D&D and Magic.
Sure.
yeah.
And I agree.
That
I
isn't
think,
then yeah,
I-
Magic
I think
is
most of it is
lion's
Magic.
share. Yeah, lion's share
Sure.
of that's Magic.
But
Definitely.
but they're
Yeah.
running into issues right now. I don't know if anybody's followed. I'm not into Magic anymore, but I've been following the news lately because they're getting threats of lawsuits and everything else over what
Oh,
they've
yeah.
done with it, because they're misleading investors too by overprinting these cards and inflating their numbers. And
Yep.
their shareholders are like, what the hell's going on here? We're not getting the return.
That's the first warning sign there may be a crash coming when that kind of stuff
Yeah.
starts happening. Because
Yeah.
the same thing happened with comics. I remember about 95 or so at there was an annual stockholders meeting at Marvel Comics, and they had people going, maybe we don't need 16 Daredevil comics. They were kind
Yeah.
of starting to throw that out
Yeah.
there, like, but they're all selling. Like, yeah, but this is not sustainable. And it wasn't sustainable because it did, maybe we don't need, 16 alternate covers, although they still do alternate covers still do really well. So there was people that were
Yeah, but there's
yelling
too
out
many
that-
now. Like
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but I went to went to get a comic. I think it was for my wife, for Jean, and I was looking at the alt covers, and it's like A cover, B cover, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? They got one regular. It used to be one regular cover, and then you'd have like a special cover, and then
Right.
maybe like an ultra rare, ink or hollow foil or whatever, something like that was it. And now it's like, it doesn't matter because there's like 14 different covers, and as
Yeah.
soon as the second printing comes out, they're gonna have a 14 new ones. It's ridiculous now. So the special covers are almost easier to find than a regular cover.
It's
certain
terrible
comics.
when I have to price collections for my friends and stuff, because you're going through, they're like, okay, is this cover A, B, C, D. I mean, luckily you have a guide that tells you
Yeah.
this A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Oh, the only one worth it is cover G, and you have cover B. Sorry, it's yours is not gonna. Yours worth $1. Now cover G is worth $25, but you got
and the only reason cover G is worth $25 is because that's the ugly ass cover that nobody wanted.
it's
There's less of them in circulation.
Quite a bit of truth to that. It's
funny
not necessarily the most popular thing that's worth money. People bring comic book collections say, "What are you looking for?" I said, "I'm looking for stuff that went under the radar, like the first appearance of Wolverine's daughter. I don't know if you remember her. She's the chick. I can't remember. X-23.
X-23.
Why?
Yeah.
Nobody bought her first. Nobody. She appeared in a comic called NYX or something. It was just some weird comic, and she appeared in there. Yeah, nobody bought that. Nobody went to the shelf and said, "Oh my gosh, Wolverine's daughter." So yeah, that's going to be worth a lot more than a super special issue #1 that we're advertising and we're putting on TV.
Right, because 100 million people went and bought that cover. So that's a tip, guys. If cover G is the ugliest cover out there,
buy the ugliest
buy
shit
that
one,
one,
and you will be
because
never go
no
wrong.
one will buy it. They'll send them all back, and you'll have one of 100 copies that are left in good shape. So get
Look
that
at how
one
many-
rated.
You can look at whole runs of comics. Like look at the comic of Werewolf by Night. Not a very good comic, and the artwork wasn't good. God bless Don Perlin, not a great artist. There is 2 issues that are worth anything in that entire run, and that's the first and second appearance of Moon Knight, and who was just thrown in as an opponent for Werewolf by Night to fight. But that's the only 2 issues that are worth anything. Was the Moon and look. So if you're looking at comic collection, look at the issues where somebody pops up that later went on to fame and fortune. But make sure it's a crappy comic like Werewolf by Night was that nobody was buying anyway. And look for the who appeared. Who appeared in this crapo comic that later went on to fame and fortune, and that's where There's a lot of Star Wars comics that way. By the way, I didn't collect Star Wars, but I bought some collections over the years. And the Star Wars comics that are worth anything are the weird one that first appearance of Renlo, Kai, whatever. Oh, I don't know who he is, but this is his first appearance. It was in the middle of the storyline, and boom, that issue's worth $200 or whatever. Yes, look for the people you've never heard of, or look for the comic runs you've never heard of, and the appearance of somebody that you didn't care about, and that's then you're okay. You're good.
So we're at we're almost at the 3.5 hour mark.
Holy crap!
You guys got any more questions for Mike? Get
this guy. This guy's loudmouth. Get him off. Get this bad mic guy going.
Go ahead, Jason.
Should you decide you need to sell your cover of Greyhawk Adventures, I am looking for one. I'm just putting it out there, man. If you feel like you got to get rid of something, you let me know.
Greyhawk Adventures? That's not a hard one to find.
It is for me, sir.
Really? Okay. I probably have a copy laying around here. If I do, Jason, I will
Everyone's been telling Ducato that the second edition Player's Handbook isn't hard to find, but he can't find one of those either.
Well, those have gotten hard to find. I will agree with that, because I used to find those for $5 everywhere. And the 2E stuff is because, once again, 30-year rule. 2E came out 1989, 1990. It's been 30 years. The people that played it, they want the books back. When my group decided we were going to play 2E for Dwaro Deep, they had the books, except one guy didn't have it. And I'm like, you could find it. He's like, I can't. I looked on I was like, you can't find them. And it turned out my brother and I had we had extra copies from back in the day. Nice. But he looked, he couldn't find them. He looked everywhere. He couldn't find the 2E books. So I agree.
Same.
And I'll be at WizardCon with Mike in a little over a month. So like, if you guys do a deal and you want to save shipping or something,
I'll look and see if I got anything
that
like
way.
that. Just let me know.
In your boxes back there with your pulp.
I still find, dude, since I started selling my stuff, I've been looking through boxes. I find stuff. The other day I'm looking through a box. What's this? Oh, it's a copy of Dungeon Revisited, Night of the Walking Wet. This is something we put out for North Texas a few years ago. It's the Night of the Walking Wet, a Janelle Jaquays dungeon she wrote. Oh, wait, hold on. And I happened to open the copy. Oh, they're all signed by Janelle, who unfortunately passed away a few years. I'm like, okay, why is this in a box that I can't sell? And I've got I've got a whole slab of them. I'm like, good Lord, this is why I can't die until I get rid of all this shit. There's just too much stuff here. It's crazy. So,
That's
and I
fantastic.
found a bunch of books
Well-
signed by Elmore too, that like paperbacks. So I'm looking, I'm like, this is weird. Why do I have all these Dragonlance paperbacks? And then I open them up like, oh, it's signed by
Oh.
Elmore.
Nice.
Oh, that's why.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else we got for Mike? Anything?
No.
Anything we're
Nick,
dying to
listen,
ask him?
Nick,
That
these
North
poor guys.
Texas-
These poor guys are an hour ahead of
We're-
me. They're tired.
We're just
Yeah.
done. We're done hearing you talk. Yeah, it's almost 9:30.
Look, I had a
Okay,
blast,
you
guys.
know?
This is like sitting around with a bunch of your buddies and talking D&D. There's nothing better than doing this.
Yeah,
I did-
and I mean,
I
you only
told you-
pissed off like 3 people in the chat. I mean,
Yeah,
so
that's
that's,
the record.
that's not a bad track record for you.
I know Talking Crit, we usually piss off 3 people in our first 5 minutes. So let me plug Talking Crit. That's Wednesday
Yeah,
nights.
absolutely.
Eric Tenkar, myself, Jim Kitchen. We talk. We're two. Unlike these guys, we don't go all night. We go for 2 hours, 7
good
to
stuff.
9 p.m. Central,
It's
and
good
we
stuff,
talk
yeah.
about current stories in gaming. And we also we almost always have a small press publisher. We love small press guys. We love guys like Roger that put on small conventions. Have we had you on Talking Crit yet, Roger? Can't
I was
remember.
on one of the shows.
Yeah,
with,
but
so I don't remember if it was
we're always
Chris.
pimping for the little guy, and we always have that on, or we will talk about current events. And like I said, we curse, we drink, we pimp what we want to pimp, and we also piss people off. Like halfway through the show, half the people are pissed off. So. But yeah, check us out. We're Wednesday nights. We've been doing it every Wednesday night for like the last, 5 years or so. Eric and I. Jim just joined us a couple years ago. He's been a great addition.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, it's really cool. And Jim is cool. He runs a lot of the auctions at a bunch.
He's
of
an auction extraordinary. He does the auction at Gen Con, Gamehole Con, Gary Con, and I guess he'll be in an auction at Wizard Con. And so we will see him at Wizard Con
cool.
also. Roger, we go.
Cool.
He's
That'll be
he's
cool
a
to
nice,
meet him.
really great guy. Now he is a big time collector. He's got some artwork
Yeah.
that blow your socks off. Let me tell you, he's got some really nice stuff.
Cool. So yeah, no, thanks for coming on, Mike. We appreciate it.
Sure.
You know,
Anytime. I had a blast.
It's good to
He's
have you
great.
talk about stuff. So yeah. So thanks everybody out there for coming. We'll see you guys next week. I don't know what the topic's going to be yet, but I'll post it at some point. And we'll see you guys on the other side.
Dan,
So,
come say hi at WizardCon. By the way, anybody at WizardCon,
yeah.
don't usually get that neck of the woods to Michigan. Come say hi and introduce yourself, because I do go to EggCon, I do go to Gamehole Con up in Wisconsin, but I don't get much farther east than WizardCon's going to be. So
Yeah, WizardCon. We'll have to have you up to New York sometime a week after.
I'd love to come. My dad's from Rye, New York. He grew up there. That's when you said my name correctly. There's actually Badolatos in New York. There's like one other Badolato in the whole state of Texas. There's
Nice.
But there's Badolatos in New York. So that's actually my, where my dad came from and his entire family came from. So up New York. So.
Nice. And on that note, we'll see you guys next week.
Later.
Take care, everybody.
You know.